Good evening from Belmont University in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm Kristen Welker of NBC News, and I welcome you to the final 2020 presidential debate between President Donald J. Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. Tonight's debate is sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates. It is conducted under health and safety protocols designed by the Commission's health security advisor. The audience here in the hall has promised to remain silent. No cheers, boos, or other interruptions, except right now, as we welcome to the stage former Vice President Joe Biden and President Donald J. Trump. And I do want to say a very good evening to both of you. This debate will cover 6 major topics. At the beginning of each section, each candidate will have 2 minutes uninterrupted to answer my first question. The Debate Commission will then turn on their microphone only when it is their turn to answer, and the Commission will turn it off exactly when the 2 minutes have expired. After that, both microphones will remain on, but on behalf of the voters, I'm going to ask you to please speak one at a time. The goal is for you to hear each other and for the American people to hear every word of what you both have to say. And so with that, if you're ready, let's start. And we will begin with the fight against the coronavirus. President Trump, the first question is for you. The country is heading into a dangerous new phase. More than 40,000 Americans are in the hospital tonight with COVID, including record numbers here in Tennessee. And since the two of you last shared a stage, 16,000 Americans have died from COVID. So please be specific. How would you lead the country during this next stage of the coronavirus crisis? 2 minutes, uninterrupted.
So, as you know, 2.2 million people modeled out were expected to die. We closed up the greatest economy in the world in order to fight this horrible disease that came from China. It's a worldwide pandemic. It's all over the world. You see the spikes in Europe and many other places right now. If you notice, the mortality rate is down 85%. The excess mortality rate is way down and much lower than almost any other country. And we're fighting it, and we're fighting it hard. There is a spike. There was a spike in Florida, and it's now gone. There was a very big spike in Texas. It's now gone. There was a very big spike in Arizona. It's now gone. And there are some spikes and surges in other places. They will soon be gone. We have a vaccine that's coming. It's ready. It's going to be announced within weeks, and it's going to be delivered. We have Operation Warp Speed, which is the military is going to distribute the vaccine. I can tell you from personal experience that I was in the hospital. I had it, and I got better. And I will tell you that I had something that they gave me, a therapeutic, I guess they would call it. Some people could say it was a cure. But I was in for a short period of time, and I got better very fast, or I wouldn't be here tonight. And now they say I'm immune. Whether it's 4 months or a lifetime, nobody's been able to say that, but I'm immune. More and more people are getting better. We have a problem that's a worldwide problem. This is a worldwide problem. But I've been congratulated by the heads of many countries on what we've been able to do. If you take a look at what we've done in terms of goggles and masks and gowns and everything else, and in particular ventilators, we're now making ventilators all over the world, thousands and thousands a month, distributing them all over the world. It will go away, and as I say, we're rounding the turn, we're rounding the corner. It's going away.
Okay, former Vice President Biden, to you, how would you lead the country out of this crisis? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
220,000 Americans dead. If you hear nothing else I say tonight, hear this. Anyone who's responsible for not taking control, in fact, not saying I take no responsibility initially, anyone who's responsible for that many deaths should not remain as President of the United States of America. We're in a situation where there are 1,000 deaths a day now, 1,000 deaths a day. And there are over 70,000 new cases per day. Compared to what's going on in Europe, as the New England Medical Journal said, they're starting from a very low rate. We're starting from a very high rate. The expectation is we'll have another 200,000 Americans dead between now and the end of the year. If we just wore these masks, the president's own advisors have told him, we could save 100,000 lives. And we're in a circumstance where the president thus far and still has no plan, no comprehensive plan. What I would do is make sure we have everyone encouraged to wear a mask all the time. I would make sure we move in the direction of rapid testing, investing in rapid testing. I would make sure that we set up national standards as to how to open up schools and open up businesses so they can be safe and give them the wherewithal, the financial resources to be able to do that. We're in a situation now where the New England Medical Journal, one of the most serious journals in the whole world, said for the first time ever that the way this president has responded to this crisis has been absolutely tragic. And so, folks, I will take care of this. I will end this. I will make sure we have a plan.
President Trump, I'd like to follow up with you in your comments. You talked about taking a therapeutic. I assume you're referencing Regeneron. You also said a vaccine will be coming within weeks.
Yes.
Is that a guarantee?
No, it's not a guarantee, but it will be by the end of the year. But I think it has a good chance. There are two companies, I think, within a matter of weeks, and it will be distributed very quickly.
Can you tell us which companies?
Johnson & Johnson is doing very well. Moderna is doing very well. Pfizer is doing very well, and we have numerous others. Then we also have others that we're working on very closely with other countries, in particular Europe.
Let me follow up with you, and because this is new information, you have said a vaccine is coming soon, within weeks now. Your own officials say it could take well into 2021 at the earliest for enough Americans to get vaccinated. And even then, they say the country will be wearing masks and distancing into 2022. Is your timeline realistic?
No, I think my timeline is going to be more accurate. I don't know that they're counting on the military the way I do, but we have our generals lined up, one in particular, that's the head of logistics. And this is a very easy distribution for him. He's ready to go as soon as we have the vaccine. And we expect to have 100 million vials. As soon as we have the vaccine, he's ready to go.
Vice President Biden, your reaction, and just 40% of Americans say they would definitely agree to take a coronavirus vaccine if it was approved by the government. What steps would you take to give Americans confidence in a vaccine if it were approved?
Make sure it's totally transparent. Have the scientists of the world see it, know it, look at it, go through all the processes. And by the way, this is the same fellow who told you this is going to end by Easter last time. This is the same fellow who told you that, don't worry, we're going to end this by the summer. We're about to go into a dark winter, and he has no clear plan, and there's no prospect that there's going to be a vaccine available for the majority of the American people before the middle of next year.
President Trump, your reaction, he says you have no
I don't think we're
plan.
going to have a dark winter at all. We're opening up our country. We've learned and studied and understand the disease, which we didn't at the beginning. When I closed and banned China from coming in heavily infected, and then ultimately Europe, but China was in January. Months later, he was saying I was xenophobic. I did it too soon. Now he's saying, oh, I should have, moved quicker. But he didn't move quicker. He was months behind me, many months behind me. And frankly, he ran the H1N1 swine flu, and it was a total disaster, far less lethal, but it was a total disaster. Had that had this kind of numbers, 700,000 people would be dead right now, but it was a far less lethal disease. Look, his own person who ran that for him, who, as you know, was his chief of staff, said it was catastrophic, it was horrible, we didn't know what we were doing. Now he comes up and he tells us how to do this. Also, everything that he said about the way every single move that he said we should make, that's what we've done. We've done all of it. But he was way behind us.
Vice President Biden, your response.
My response is he is xenophobic, but not because he shut down access from China. And he did it late after 40 countries had already done that. In addition to that, what he did, he made sure that we had 44 people that were in there in China trying to get to Wuhan to determine what exactly the source was. What did the president say in January? He said, no, he said, he's being transparent. The president of China is being transparent. We owe him a debt of gratitude. We have to thank him. And then what happened was we started talking about using the Defense Act to make sure we go out and get whatever is needed out there to protect people. And again, I go back to this. He had nothing, he did virtually nothing. And then he gets out of the hospital and he talks about, don't worry, it's all going to be over soon. Come on. There's not another serious scientist in the world who thinks it's going to be over soon.
President Trump, your reaction?
I say over soon. I say we're learning to live with it. We have no choice. We can't lock ourselves up in a basement like Joe does. He has the ability to lock himself up. I don't know. He's obviously made a lot of money someplace, but he has this thing about living in a basement. People can't do that. By the way, I, as the president, couldn't do that. I'd love to put myself in the basement or in a beautiful room in the White House and go away for a year and a half until it disappears. I can't do that. And Kirsten, every meeting I had, and I'd meet a lot of families, including Gold Star families and military families, every meeting I had, and I had to meet them. I had to. It would be horrible to have canceled everything. I said, you know, this is dangerous. And you catch it. And, you know, I caught it. I learned a lot. Great doctors, great hospitals. And now I recovered. 99.9 of young people recover. 99% of people recover. We have to recover. We can't close up our nation. We have to open our school, and we can't close up our nation, or you're not going to have a nation.
And of course, the CDC has said young people can get sick with COVID-19 and can pass it. Vice President Biden, I want to talk broadly about strategy, though.
Can I respond to that?
30 seconds, please, and then I have a question.
No, number one, he says that we're learning to live with it. People are learning to die with it. You folks home will have an empty chair at the kitchen table this morning. That man or wife going to bed tonight and reaching over to try to touch out of habit where their wife or husband was, is gone. Learning to live with it. Come on. We're dying with it because he's never said, you said it's dangerous. When's the last time? Is it really dangerous still? Are we dangerous? You tell the people it's dangerous now? What should they do about the danger? And you say, I take no responsibility.
Let me talk about your two.
Excuse me, I take full responsibility. It's not my fault that he came here. It's China's fault. And you know what? It's not Joe's fault that he came here either. It's China's fault. They kept it from going into the rest of China for the most part, but they didn't keep it from coming out to the world, including Europe and ourselves.
Vice President Biden.
The fact is that when we knew it was coming, when it hit, what happened? What did the president say? He said, don't worry, it's going to go away. Be gone by Easter. Don't worry. The warm weather. Don't worry. Maybe inject bleach. He said he was kidding when he said that, but a lot of people thought it was serious. A whole range of things the president has said. Even today, he thinks we are in control. We're about to lose 200,000 more people.
President Trump.
Look, perhaps just to finish this, I was kidding on that, but just to finish this, when I closed, he said I shouldn't have closed. And that went on for months. Nancy Pelosi said the same thing. She was dancing on the streets in Chinatown in San Francisco. But when I closed, he said, this is a terrible thing. You're xenophobic. I think he called me racist even. And because I was closing it to China. Now he says I should have closed it earlier. Joe, it doesn't work.
I didn't say either of those things.
You certainly did. You certainly did.
I talked about a xenophobia in a different context. It wasn't about closing the border to Chinese coming to the United States.
All right, I want to talk about both of your different strategies to handling
He thought
this.
I shouldn't have closed the border.
Well,
That's obvious.
Do you want to respond to that quickly, Vice President
No.
Biden? Okay. Let's talk about your different strategies toward dealing with this. Mr. Vice President, you suggested you would support new shutdowns if scientists recommended it. What do you say to Americans who are fearful that the cost of shutdowns, the impact on the economy, the higher rates of hunger, depression, domestic and substance abuse outweighs the risk of exposure to the virus?
What I would say is I'm going to shut down the virus, not the country. It's his ineptitude that caused the country to have to shut down in large part. Why businesses have gone under, why schools are closed, why so many people have lost their living, and why they're concerned. Those other concerns are real. That's why he should have been, instead of in a sand trap in a golf course, he should have been negotiating with Nancy Pelosi and the rest of the Democrats and Republicans about what to do about the acts they were passing for billions of dollars to make sure people had the capacity.
But you haven't ruled out more shutdowns.
Well, no, I'm not shutting down the name, but look, you need standards. The standard is if you have a reproduction rate in a community that's above a certain level, everybody says, slow up, more social distancing, do not open bars and do not open gymnasiums, do not open until you get this under control, under more control. But when you do open, give the people the capacity to be able to open and have the capacity to do it safely. For example, schools. Schools, they need a lot of money to open. They need to deal with ventilation systems. They need to deal with smaller classes, more teachers, more pods. And he's refused to support that money, or at least up to now.
Let's talk about schools. President Trump,
I think we have to respond, if I might.
please, and then I have a follow-up.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. Look, all he does is talk about shutdowns, but forget about him. His Democrat governors, Cuomo in New York, you look at what's going on in California, you look at Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Democrats all, they're shut down so tight, and they're dying. They're dying. And he supports all these people. All he talks about is shutdowns. No, we're not going to shut down, and we have to open our schools. And it's like, as an example, I have a young son. He also tested positive. By the time I spoke to the doctor the second time, he was fine. It just went away. Young people, I guess it's their immune system.
Let me follow up with you, President Trump. You've demanded schools open in person and insist they can do it safely. But just yesterday, Boston became the latest city to move its public school system entirely online after a coronavirus spike. What is your message to parents who worry that sending their children to school will endanger not only their kids, but also their teachers and families?
I want to open the schools. The transmittal rate to the teachers is very small, but I want to open the schools. We have to open our country. We're not going to have a country. You can't do this. We can't keep this country closed. This is a massive country with a massive economy. People are losing their jobs. They're committing suicide. There's depression, alcohol, drugs at a level that nobody's ever seen before. There's abuse, tremendous abuse. We have to open our country. You know, I've said it often. The cure cannot be worse than the problem itself. And that's what's happening. And he wants to close down. He'll close down the country if one person in our massive bureaucracy says we should close it down.
Vice President Biden, your response.
Simply not true. We ought to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We ought to be able to safely open, but when they need resources to open. You need to be able to, for example, if you're going to open a business, have social distancing within the business. You need to have, if you have a restaurant, you need to have plexiglass dividers so people cannot infect one another. You need to be in a position where you can take testing rapidly and know whether a person is, in fact, infected. You need to be able to trace. You need to be able to provide all the resources that are needed to do this. And that is not inconsistent with saying that we're going to make sure that we open safely. And by the way, all you teachers out there, not that many of you are going to die, so don't worry about it. Come on.
President Trump, let me follow up with you quickly.
By the way, I will say this. If you go and look at what's happened to New York, it's a ghost town. It's a ghost town. And when you talk about plexiglass, these are restaurants that are dying. These are businesses with no money. Putting up plexiglass is unbelievably expensive, and it's not the answer. I mean, you're going to sit there in a cubicle wrapped around with plastic. These are businesses that are dying, Joe. You can't do that to people. You just can't. Take a look at New York and what's happened to my wonderful city for so many years. I loved it. It was vibrant. It's dying. Everyone's leaving New York.
Take a look at what New York has done in terms of turning the curve down in terms of the number of people dying. And I don't look at this in terms of the way he does. Blue states and red states. They're all the United States. And look at the states that are having such a spike in the coronavirus. They're the red states. They're the states in the Midwest. They're the states in the upper Midwest. That's where the spike is occurring significantly. But they're all Americans. They're all Americans. And what we have to do is say, wear these masks, number one. Make sure we get the help that the businesses need that has money's already been passed to do that. It's been out there since the beginning of the summer, and nothing's happened.
President, New York has lost more than 40,000 people, 11,000 people in nursing homes.
President Trump, what
when
about...
you say spike, take a look at what's happening in Pennsylvania, where they've had it closed. Take a look at what's happening with your friend in Michigan, where her husband's the only one allowed to do anything. It's been like a prison. Now it was just ruled unconstitutional. Take a look at North Carolina. They're having spikes, and they've been closed. And they're getting killed financially. We can't let that happen, Joe. You can't let that happen. We have to open up. And we understand the disease. We have to protect our seniors. We have to protect our elderly. We have to protect especially our seniors with heart problems and diabetes problems. And we will protect them. We have the best testing in the world by far. That's why we have so many cases.
Let me follow up with you before we move on to our next section. President Trump, this week you called Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's best-known infectious disease expert, quote, a disaster. You described him and other medical experts as, quote, idiots. If you're not listening to them, who are you listening to as you fight this?
I'm listening to all of them, including Anthony. I get along very well with Anthony. But he did say, don't wear masks. He did say, as you know, this is not going to be a problem. I think he's a Democrat, but that's okay. He said, this is not going to be a problem. We are not going to have a problem at all. When Joe says that, I said, Anthony Fauci said, and others, and many others, and I'm not knocking him a lot. Nobody knew. Look, nobody knew what this thing was. Nobody knew where it was coming from, what it was. We've learned a lot. But Anthony said, don't wear masks. Now he wants to wear masks. Anthony also said, if you look back, exact words, here's his exact words. This is no problem. This is going to go away soon. So he's allowed to make mistakes. He happens to be a good person.
Vice President Biden, your response quickly, and then we're going to move on to the next section.
My response is that think about what the president knew in January and didn't tell the American people. He was told this was a serious virus that spread in the air, and it was much worse than the flu. He went on record and said to one of your colleagues, recorded, that in fact he knew how dangerous it was, but he didn't want to tell us. He didn't want to tell us because he didn't want us to panic. He didn't want us, Americans don't panic. He panicked. But guess what? In the meantime, we found out in the New York Times the other day that, in fact, his folks went to Wall Street and said this is a really dangerous thing. And a memo out of that meeting, not from his administration, but from some of the brokers, said sell short because we got to get moving. It's a dangerous problem.
Well, this is
I'm going to give you 30 seconds to respond, and then we're going to move on.
The Wall Street one, I don't know. Somebody went to Wall Street. You're the one that takes all the money from Wall Street. I don't take it. You have raised a lot of money, tremendous amounts of money. And every time you raise money, deals are made, Joe. I could raise so much more money. As president and as somebody that knows most of those people, I could call the heads of Wall Street, the heads of every company in America. I would blow away every record, but I don't want to do that because it puts me in a bad position. And then you bring up Wall Street. You shouldn't be bringing up Wall Street because you're the one that takes the money from Wall Street, not me. I could blow away your records that, like you wouldn't believe. We don't need money. We have plenty of money. In fact, we beat Hillary Clinton with a tiny fraction of the money that she was able to.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to move on.
Don't tell me about Wall Street.
Average contribution, $43.
All right, we're going to move on to our next section, which is national security. And I do want to start with the security of our elections and some breaking news from overnight. Just last night, top intelligence officials confirmed again that both Russia and Iran are working to influence this election. Both countries have obtained U.S. voter registration information, these officials say, and Iran sent intimidating messages to Florida voters. This question goes to you, Mr. Vice President. What would you do to put an end to this threat? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
I made it clear, and I ask everyone else to take the pledge. I made it clear that any country, no matter who it is, that interferes in American elections will pay a price. They will pay a price. And it's been overwhelmingly clear this election, I won't even get into the last one, this election, that Russia has been involved, China has been involved to some degree, and now we learn that Iran is involved. They will pay a price if I'm elected. They're interfering with American sovereignty. That's what's going on right now. They're interfering with American sovereignty. And to the best of my knowledge, I don't think the president said anything to Putin about it. I don't think he's stalking them a lot. I don't think he said a word. I don't know why he hadn't said a word to Putin about it. And I don't know what he has recently said, if anything, to the Iranians. My guess is he'd probably be more outspoken with regard to the Iranians. But the point is this, folks. We are in a situation where we have foreign countries trying to interfere in the outcome of our election. His own national security advisor told him that what is happening with his buddy, I will. His buddy, Rudy Giuliani, he's being used as a Russian pawn. He's being fed information that is Russian, that is not true. And then what happens? Nothing happens. And then you find out that everything that's going on here about Russia is wanting to make sure that I do not get elected the next president of the United States because they know I know them and they know me. I don't understand why this president is unwilling to take on Putin when he's actually paying bounties to kill American soldiers in Afghanistan, when he's engaged in activities that are trying to destabilize all of NATO. I don't know why he doesn't do it, but it's worth asking the question, why isn't that being done? Any country that interferes with us will, in fact, pay a price because they're affecting our sovereignty.
President Trump, same question to you.
to
Let me ask the
Yes.
question. You're going to have 2 minutes to respond. For 2 elections in a row now, there has been substantial interference from foreign adversaries. What would you do in your next term to put an end to this? 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Well, let me respond to the first part, as Joe answered. Joe got $3.5 million from Russia, and it came through Putin because he was very friendly with the former mayor of Moscow, and it was the mayor of Moscow's wife. And you got $3.5 million. Your family got $3.5 million, and you know, someday you're going to have to explain, why did you get 3.5? I never got any money from Russia. I don't get money from Russia. Now, about your thing last night, I knew all about that. And through John Ratcliffe, who is fantastic, DNI, he said, the one thing that's common to both of them, they both want you to lose, because there has been nobody tougher to Russia. Between the sanctions, nobody tougher than me on Russia. Between the sanctions, between all of what I've done with NATO, you know, I've got the NATO countries to put up an extra $130 billion, going to $420 billion a year. That's to guard against Russia. I sold, while he was selling pillows and sheets, I sold tank busters to Ukraine. There has been nobody tougher on Russia than Donald Trump. And I'll tell you, they were so bad. They took over the submarine port. You remember that very well. During your term, during you and Barack Obama, they took over a big part of what should have been Ukraine. You handed it to them, but you were getting a lot of money from Russia. They were paying you a lot of money, and they probably still are. But now, with what came out today, it's even worse. All of the emails, the horrible emails of the kind of money that you were raking in, you and your family. And Joe, you were vice president when some of this was happening, and it should have never happened. And I think you owe an explanation to the American people. Why is it? Somebody just had a news conference a little while ago who was essentially supposed to work with you and your family, but what he said was damning. And regardless of me, I think you have to clean it up and talk to the American people. Maybe you can do it right now.
Vice President Biden, you may respond. 30
straight
seconds.
here.
And then I do want to follow up on the election security.
I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life. We learned that this president paid 50 times the tax in China, has a secret bank account with China, does business in China, and in fact is talking about me taking money. I have not taken a single penny from any country whatsoever, ever, number one. Number two, this is a president, I have released all of my tax returns, 22 years. Go look at them. 22 years of my tax return. You have not released a single solitary year of your tax return. What are you hiding? Why are you unwilling? The foreign countries are paying you a lot. Russia's paying you a lot. China's paying you a lot. And your hotels and all your businesses all around the country, all around the world. And China's building a new road to a new a golf course you have overseas. So what's going on here? Why don't release your tax return or stop talking about corruption?
President Trump, your response.
First of all, I called my accountants under audit. I'm going to release them as soon as we can. I want to do it, and it'll show how successful, how great this company is. But much more importantly than that, people were saying $750. I asked them a week ago, I said, what did I pay? They said, sir, you prepaid tens of millions of dollars. I prepaid my tax. Tens over the last number of years. Tens of millions of dollars I prepaid, because at some point they think it's an estimate. They think I may have to pay tax. So I already prepaid it. Nobody told me that.
Did your accountant
Nobody
tell you
told
when
you
you
that.
could release
Excuse
them?
me. And it wasn't written whenever they write this. They keep talking about $750, which I think is a filing fee. But let me just tell you, I prepaid millions and millions of dollars in taxes. Number one. Number two, I don't make money from China. You do. I don't make money from Ukraine. You do. I don't make money from Russia. You made $3.5 million, Joe, and your son gave you. They even have a statement that we have to give 10% to the big man. You're the big man, I think. I don't know. Maybe you're not, but you're the big man, I think. Your son said we have to give 10% to the big man. Joe, what's that all about? It's terrible.
All right, gentlemen, I want to ask you both some questions
I have
about
to
all of this,
respond to
but
that.
I'm going to let you both respond very quickly. You just said you spoke to your accountant
Yes.
about potentially releasing your taxes. Did he tell you when you can release them? Do you
As
have
soon
a
as the audit is
deadline for
finished.
when you're going to release them
I
to the
get
American
treated
people?
worse than the Tea Party got treated. Because
you
I have a
don't
lot
have
of
the time.
people in there, deep down in the IRS, they treat me horribly. We made a deal, it was all settled until I decide to run for president. I get treated very badly by the IRS, very unfairly. But we had a deal all done. As soon as we're completed with the deal, I want to release it. But I have paid millions and millions of dollars, and it's worse than paying. I paid in advance. It's called prepaying your taxes. I paid in advance.
I want to ask you both about questions regarding your potential foreign entanglements and questions that have been raised to give you both a chance
Some
to
point
talk
I'll
about
respond
this
to
more
this.
broadly. Respond very quickly, and then I'll get to my question.
Why did he's been saying this for 4 years? Show us. Just show us. Stop playing around. You've been saying for 4 years
Everybody
you're going to
knows
release your taxes. Nobody knows it, Mr. President. What they do know is you're not paying your taxes, or you're paying taxes that are so low. When last time he said what he paid, he said, I only pay that little because I'm smart. I know how to game the system. Come on. Come on, folks.
Very quickly, President Trump, and then I want to get to two questions to both of you on this.
I was put through a phony witch hunt for 3 years. It started before I even got elected. They spied on my campaign. No president should ever have to go through what I went through. Let me just say this. Mueller and 18 angry Democrats and FBI agents all over the place spent $48 million. They went through everything I had, including my tax returns, and they found absolutely no collusion and nothing wrong. 48 million. I guarantee you, if I spent 1 million on you, Joe, I could find plenty wrong. Because
All
the
right.
kind of things that you've done and the kind of monies that your family has taken, I mean, your brother made money in Iraq, millions of dollars. Your other brother made a fortune, and it's all through you, Joe. And they say you get some of it, and you do live very well. You have houses all over the place. You live very well.
All right, gentlemen, let me just ask some questions about all of this broadly. Vice President Biden, there have been questions about the work your son has done in China and for a Ukrainian energy company when you were vice president. In retrospect, was anything about those relationships inappropriate or unethical?
Nothing was unethical. Here's what the deal. With regard to Ukraine, we had this whole question about whether or not, because he was on the board, I later learned of Burisma, a company, that somehow I had done something wrong. Yet every single solitary person, when he was going through his impeachment, testifying under oath who worked for him, said, I did my job impeccably. I carried out U.S. policy. Not one single solitary thing was out of line. Not a single thing, number one. Number two, the guy who got in trouble in Ukraine was this guy trying to bribe the Ukrainian government to say something negative about me, which they would not do and did not do because it never, ever, ever happened. My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China. I have not had, the only guy made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
Never
President
to
Trump,
deal with
let me
China. By the
ask
way,
my question to you.
But
and
could
then
I just,
you'll-
one thing?
Very quickly.
His son didn't have a job for a long time, was sadly no longer in the military service. I won't get into that. And he didn't have a job. As soon as he became vice president, Burisma, not the best reputation in the world, I hear they paid him $183,000 a month. Listen to this. 183, and they gave him a $3 million upfront payment.
All right.
And he had no energy
I'm going to let the Vice President
That's
respond to that quickly,
100%
and then I need to get to a
dishonest.
question to you. Very
No
quickly, Mr.
basis for
Vice
that. Everybody investigated that. No one said anything he did was wrong in Ukraine.
Okay, President Trump, this is for you. Since you took office, you've never divested from your business. You've personally promoted your properties abroad. A report this week, which was referenced, does indicate that your company has a bank account in China. So how can voters know that you don't have any foreign conflicts of interest?
I have many bank accounts, and they're all listed, and they're all over the place. I mean, I was a businessman doing business. The bank account you're referring to, which is, everybody knows about it, it's listed. The bank account was in 2013. That's what it was. It was opened it was closed in 2015, I believe. And then I decided, because I was thinking about doing a deal in China, like millions of other people. I was thinking about it, and I decided I'm not going to do it. Didn't like it. I decided not to do it. Had an account open, and I closed it.
Okay.
Excuse me. And then, unlike him, where he's vice president and he does business, I then decided to run for president after that. That was before. So I closed it before I even ran for president, let alone became president. Big difference. He is the vice president of the United States, and his son, his brother, and his other brother are getting rich. They're like a vacuum cleaner. They're sucking up money
President
every
Trump,
place
thank
he
you.
goes.
We do
Not
need to
true.
move on. I do want to ask you, Vice President Biden, about China. Let's talk about China more broadly. There have, of course, President Trump has said that they should pay for not being fully transparent in regards to the coronavirus. If you were president, would you make China pay? And please be specific. What would that look like?
What I'd make China do is play by the international rules, not like he has done. He has caused the deficit of China to go up, not down, with China, up, not down. We are making sure that in order to do business in China, you have to give all your intellectual property. You have to have a partner in China. It's 51%. We would not do that at all, number one. Number two, we're in a situation where China would have to play by the rules internationally as well. When I met with Xi, when I was still vice president, he said we're setting up air identification zones in the South China Sea. You can't fly through them. I said we're going to fly through them. We just flew B-52, B-1 bombers through it. We're not going to pay attention. They have to play by the rules. And what's he do? He embraces guys like the thugs like in North Korea and the Chinese president and Putin and others, and he pokes his finger in the eye of all of our friends, all of our allies. We make up we're 25% of the world's economy. We need to be having the rest of our friends with us saying to China, these are the rules. You play by them or you're going to pay the price for not paying by them economically. That's the way I will run it, and that's what we did in upholding steel tariffs and a range of other things when we were president and vice president.
All right, let's talk about North Korea.
Excuse me, no, I have to respond to that.
Okay, very quickly, and
His
then we're
son
going to move
walked
on
out
to
with
North
$1.5
Korea.
billion from China to
Not
manage after
true.
spending 10 minutes in office and being in Air Force Two, number one. Number two, there's a very strong email talking about your family wanting to make $10 million a year for introductions.
President Trump, on China policy,
true.
though, what
No, but wait a
specifically are
minute.
you going to do? What specifically are you going to do to make China pay? You've said you're going
First
to
of
make
all,
them pay.
China is paying. They're paying billions and billions of dollars. I just gave
New
$28 billion.
sanctions? New sanctions?
I just gave $28 billion to our farmers. because
Taxpayers'
China,
money.
It's what?
Taxpayers' money. Didn't
No,
come
no,
from
yeah,
China.
you know who the taxpayer is? It's called China. China paid
true.
$28 billion, and you know what they did to pay it, Joe? They devalued their currency, and they also paid up. And you know who got the money? Our farmers, our great farmers, because they were targeted. You never charged them anything. Also, I charged them 25% on dumped steel because they were killing our steel industry. We were not going to have a steel industry.
Okay.
And now we have a steel
Okay,
industry.
Vice President Biden, your response, please.
Our response is, look, this isn't about, there's a reason why he's bringing up all this malarkey. There's a reason for it. He doesn't want to talk about the substantive issues. It's not about his family and my family. It's about your family. And your family's hurting badly. If you're making less than, if you're a middle-class family, you're getting hurt badly right now. You're sitting at the kitchen table this morning deciding, well, we can't get new tires, they're bald because we have to wait another month or so. Or are we going to be able to pay the mortgage? Or who's going to tell her she can't go back to community college? They're the decisions you're making in the middle-class families like I grew up in Scranton and Claymont. They're in trouble. We should be talking about your families, but that's the last thing he wants to talk about.
I want
That is a
to talk
typical
about
statement.
North Korea.
Excuse me, just
I do
for
want
1
to turn
second,
to
please.
10 seconds, Mr. President.
That's
10
a
seconds.
typical political statement. Let's get off this China thing, and then he looks, the family, around the table, everything. Just a typical politician when I see that.
Let's talk
I'm
about
not
North
a typical
Korea now.
politician.
Okay,
That's why I
President
got elected.
Let's
get off the subject of China. Let's talk around, sitting around the table.
All right.
Come on, Joe, you can do better.
We're going to talk about North Korea now. President Trump, you've met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un 3 times. You've talked about your beautiful letters with him. You've touted the fact that there hasn't been a war or a long-range missile test. And yet North Korea recently rolled out its biggest ever intercontinental ballistic missile and continues to develop its nuclear arsenal. Do you see that as a betrayal of the relationship you forged? Just 30 seconds here because we need to get on to the next one.
So when I met with Barack Obama, we sat in the White House. right at the beginning, had a great conversation. It was supposed to be 15 minutes, and it was well over an hour. He said the biggest problem we have with North Korea. He indicated we will be in a war with North Korea. Guess what? It would be a nuclear war, and he does have plenty of nuclear capability. In the meantime, I have a very good relationship with him. Different kind of a guy, but he probably thinks the same thing about me. We have a different kind of a relationship. We have a very good relationship, and there's no war. And you know, about 2 months ago, he broke into a certain area. They said, oh, there's going to be trouble. I said, no, they're not, because he's not going to do that. And I was right. Look, instead of being in a war where millions of people, Seoul, you know, is 25 miles away, millions and millions, 32 million people in Seoul, millions of people would be dead right now.
President
we
Trump,
don't have
that's
a war,
30
and
seconds.
I have a good
Thank
relationship.
you. Vice President Biden, to you, North Korea conducted 4 nuclear tests under the Obama administration. Why do you think you would be able to rein in this persistent threat right
Because I'd make it clear, which we were making clear to China, they had to be part of the deal, because here's the I made it clear, and as a spokesperson of the administration when I went to China, that they said, why are you moving your missile defense up so close? Why are you moving more forces here? Why are you continuing to do military maneuvers with South Korea? I said, because North Korea is a problem, and we're going to continue to do it so we can control them. We're going to make sure we can control them and make sure they cannot hurt us. And so if you want to do something about it, step up and help. If not, it's going to continue. What has he done? He's legitimized North Korea. He's talked about his good buddy, who's a thug, and he talks about how we're better off. And they have much more capable missiles, able to reach U.S. territory much more easily than ever did before.
Let me follow up with you, Vice President Biden. You've said you wouldn't meet with Kim Jong-un without preconditions. Are there any conditions under which you would meet with him?
On the condition that he would agree that he would be drawing down his nuclear capacity to get the Korean Peninsula should be nuclear-free zone.
All right, let's move on to American families.
Kristen, they tried
Very
to
quickly,
meet with
10
him.
seconds,
They
President.
tried to meet with him. He wouldn't do it. He didn't like Obama. He didn't like him. He wouldn't do it.
Okay, I
know
got to
for
give him a
fact they
chance to
tried.
respond to that
He
before we
wouldn't
move
do
on.
it.
You
And
know,
that's okay. You know what? North Korea, we're not in a war. We have a good relationship. You know, people don't understand. Having a good
President
relationship
Trump,
with
we have
leaders
to
of
move
other
on, 'cause
countries
we have
is
a lot
a
of
good thing.
We have a lot of questions to get
Yes,
to.
not
That's
Your
like
response.
saying we had a good relationship with Hitler before he, in fact, invaded Europe, the rest of Europe. Come on. The reason he would not meet with President Obama is because President Obama said, we're going to talk about denuclearization. We're not going to legitimize you, and we're going to continue to put stronger and stronger sanctions on you. That's why he wouldn't meet with us.
All right,
And
let's
it didn't
move
happen.
on. Let's
Excuse
move on
me.
and talk about
He left
American
me a
families.
mess, Kristen.
President Trump, okay, we do
They
need to move
left
on.
me a mess. North Korea was a mess.
We
And
need
in
to
fact,
move
if
on
you
so that
remember
we
the
can get
first
to all
2 or
of
3
our
months,
questions tonight,
there was a
President
very
Trump.
dangerous period in my first 3 months before we sort of worked things out a little bit.
Okay.
There was a they left us a mess. And Obama would be, I think, the first to say it was the single biggest problem he thought that our country had.
Okay, let's move on to American families and the economy. One of the issues that's most important to them is health care, as you both know. Today, there was a key vote on a new Supreme Court Justice, Amy Coney Barrett, and health care is at the center of her confirmation fight. Over 20 million Americans get their health insurance through the Affordable Care Act. It's headed to the Supreme Court, and your administration, Mr. President, is advocating for the court to overturn it. If the Supreme Court does overturn that law, those 20 million Americans could lose their health insurance almost overnight. So what would you do if those people have their health insurance taken away? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Sure. First of all, I've already done something that nobody thought was possible. Through the legislature, I terminated the individual mandate. That is the worst part of Obamacare, as we call it. The individual mandate where you have to pay a fortune for the privilege of not having to pay for bad health insurance. I terminated. It's gone. Now it's in court because Obamacare is no good. But then I made a decision. Run it as well as you can to my people, great people. Run it as well as you can. I could have gone the other route and made everybody very unhappy. They ran it. Premiums are down. Everything's down. Here's the problem. No matter how well you run it, it's no good. What we'd like to do is terminate it. We have the individual mandate done. I don't know that it's going to work. If we don't win, we will have to run it, and we'll have Obamacare, but it'll be better run. But it no longer is Obamacare, because without the individual mandate, it's much different. Pre-existing conditions will always stay. What I would like to do is a much better health care, much better, will always protect people with pre-existing. So I'd like to terminate Obamacare, come up with a brand new, beautiful health care. The Democrats will do it because there'll be tremendous pressure on them, and we might even have the House by that time, and I think we're going to win the House, okay? You'll see, but I think we're going to win the House. But come up with a better health care, always protecting people with pre-existing conditions. And one thing very important, we have 180 million people out there that have great private health care, far more than we're talking about with Obamacare. Joe Biden is going to terminate all of those policies. These are people that love their health care, people that have been successful, middle-income people, been successful. They have 180 million plans, 180 million people, families, under what he wants to do, which will basically be socialized medicine. He won't even have a choice. They want to terminate 180 million plans. We have done an incredible job on health care, and we're going to do even better.
Okay,
Let me
Vice
respond.
President Biden, yes, this is for you. Your health care plan calls for building on Obamacare. So my question is, what is your plan if the law is ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
What I'm going to do is pass Obamacare with a public option. It'll become Biden care. The public option is an option that says that if you, in fact, do not have the wherewithal to be, if you qualify for Medicaid and you do not have the wherewithal in your state to get Medicaid, you automatically are enrolled, providing competition for insurance companies. That's what's going to happen. Secondly, we're going to make sure we reduce the premiums and reduce drug prices by making sure that there's competition that doesn't exist now by allowing the Medicare to negotiate drug prices with the insurance companies. Thirdly, the idea that I want to eliminate private insurance, the reason why I had such a fight with 20 candidates for the nomination was I support private insurance. That's why I didn't. Not one single person with private insurance would lose their insurance under my plan, nor did they under Obamacare. They did not lose their insurance unless they chose they wanted to go to something else. Lastly, we're going to make sure we're in a situation that we actually protect pre-existing. There's no way he can protect pre-existing conditions. None, zero. You can't do it in the ether. He's been talking about this for a long time. He's never come up with a plan. I guess we're going to get the pre-existing condition plan the same time we get the infrastructure plan that we've been waiting since 17, 18, 19, and 20. The fact, I still have a few more minutes. I know you're getting anxious. The fact is that he's already cost the American people, because of his terrible handling of the COVID virus and the economic spillover, 10 million people have lost their private insurance. And he wants to take away 22 million more people who have it under Obamacare, and over 110 million people with pre-existing conditions. And all the people from COVID are going to have pre-existing conditions. What are they going to do?
I have a follow-up for you, Vice President Biden. It relates to something that President Trump said. He's accusing you of wanting socialized medicine. What do you say to people who have concerns that your health care plan, which includes a government insurance option, takes the country one step closer to a health care system run entirely by the government? What's your response to them?
It's ridiculous. It's like saying that, the idea that the fact that there's a public option that people can choose, that makes it a socialist plan. Look, the difference between the president, I think health care is not a privilege, it's a right. Everyone should have the right to have affordable health care. And I am very proud of my plan. It's gotten endorsed by all the major labor unions, as well as a whole range of other people who, in fact, are concerned in the medical field. This is something that's going to save people's lives, and this is going to give some people an opportunity to have health care for their children. How many of you home are worried and rolling around in bed tonight wondering what in God's name you're going to do if you get sick because you've lost your home insurance, your health insurance, your company's gone under? We have to provide health insurance for people at an affordable rate, and that's what I do.
President Trump,
Excuse me, he was
your
there
response.
for 47 years. He didn't do it. He was now there as vice president for 8 years, and it's not like it was 25 years ago. It was 3 3/4. It was just a little while ago, right? Less than 4 years ago. He didn't do anything. He didn't do it. He wants socialized medicine, and it's not that he wants it. His vice president, she is more liberal than Bernie Sanders and wants it even more. Bernie Sanders wants it. The Democrats want it. You're going to have socialized medicine, just like he went with fracking. We're not going to have fracking. We're going to stop fracking. We're going to stop fracking. Then he goes to Pennsylvania after he gets a nomination, where he got very lucky to get it. And he goes to Pennsylvania, And he says, oh, we're going to have fracking. And you never ask that question. And by the way, so far, I respect very much the way you're handling this, I have to say.
By the way.
But somebody should ask the question.
You can ask
he goes for a year. There will be no fracking. There will be no petroleum.
We have a number of topics we're going to get to.
That's a big question.
We're going to get to. We're going to get to.
It's the same thing with socialized
I have to
medicine.
respond.
Vice President, your response, please.
My response is people deserve to have affordable health care, period. Period, period, period. And the Biden care proposal will, in fact, provide for that affordable health care, lower premiums. What we're going to do is going to cost some money. It's going to cost over $750 billion over 10 years to do it. And they're going to have lower premiums. You can buy into the better plans, the cheaper plans, lower your premiums, deal with unexpected billing, and have your drug prices drop significantly. He keeps talking about it. He hasn't done a thing for anybody on health care. Not a thing.
Kristen, when
Very
he
quickly,
says,
then I want to talk
when
about
he
what's
says
happening on
public
Capitol
option,
Hill.
he's talking about socialized medicine and healthcare. When he talks about a public option, he's talking about destroying your Medicare, totally destroying your Social Security, and this whole country will come down. You know, Bernie Sanders tried it in his state. He tried it in his state. His governor was a very liberal governor. They wanted to make it work.
Okay,
let's let Vice
President Biden respond.
It doesn't
Vice
work.
President
He's
Biden,
a very
your response.
confused guy. He thinks he's running against somebody else. He's running against Joe Biden. I beat all those other people because I disagreed with them. Joe Biden he's running against. And the idea that we're in a situation that they're going to destroy Medicare, this is the guy that the actuary at Medicare said, if in fact, at Social Security, if in fact he continues to withhold his plan to withhold the tax on Social Security will be bankrupt by 2023 with no way to make up for it. This is the guy who's tried to cut Medicare. So I mean, the idea that Donald Trump is lecturing me on Social Security and Medicare? Come on.
He tried to get
10
rid of,
seconds,
he
Mr.
tried to
President,
hurt
and then I
Social
have to go to
Security
another
years ago. Go back and look at the records. He tried to hurt Social Security years ago.
All right, let's move on.
This
I'm
is
going to
the
move
guy
on.
that when they
Mr.
announced
President, I have to move
last
on
week,
to the next question.
they said
or
the
else
stock
we're not
market
gonna
will
have time to
boom
talk about it.
if I'm elected. If he's elected, the stock market will crash.
Okay, let's
biggest
move on to the
analysts are
next
saying
question.
Let me respond.
Very quickly.
Look, the idea that the stock market is booming is his only measure of what's happening. Where I come from in Scranton and Claymont, the people don't live off of the stock market. Just in the last three years during this crisis, the billionaires in this country made, according to the Wall Street, $700 billion more dollars. $700 billion more dollars, because that's his only measure. What happens to the ordinary people out there? What happens to them?
Let's talk about what's happening on Capitol Hill. We're going to move on,
401ks are through the roof.
We're going to move on.
Stock are through the roof.
All right.
And he doesn't come from Scranton. That's like he lived there for a short period of time before he even knew it.
We're going to move on to
and
the
he
next
left.
question.
And the people of Pennsylvania
Let me
will
move
show
on
you
to my
that.
next question,
They
gentlemen.
understand.
As of tonight, more than 12 million people are out of work. And as of tonight, 8 million more Americans have fallen into poverty, and more families are going hungry every day. Those hit hardest are women and people of color. They see Washington fighting over a relief bill. Mr. President, why haven't you been able to get them the help they need? 30 seconds here.
Because Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve it. I do.
But you're the president.
I do, but I still have to get. Unfortunately, that's one of the reasons I think we're going to take over the House, because of her. Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve anything because she'd love to have some victories on a date called November 3rd. Nancy Pelosi does not want to approve it. We are ready, willing, and able to do something. Don't forget, we've already approved 3 plans, and it's gone through, including the Democrats, in all fairness. This one she doesn't want. It's near the election because she thinks it helps her politically. I think it hurts her politically.
All right, Mr. Vice President,
You know, the Republican leader in the United States Senate said he can't pass it. He will not be able to pass it. He does not have Republican votes. Why isn't he talking to his Republican friends?
let me follow up with you, Vice President
we made a
Biden,
deal, the
because
Republicans
let me
will
ask
pass
Vice
it.
President Biden a question. You are the leader of the Democratic Party. Why have you not pushed the Democrats to get a deal for the American people?
Well, I have, and they have pushed it. Look, they passed this act all the way back in the beginning of the summer. This is like it's not new. It's been out there. This HEROES Act has been sitting there. And look at what's happening. When I was in charge of the Recovery Act with $800 billion, I was able to get $145 billion to local communities that have to balance their budgets and states that have to balance their budgets, so then have to fire firefighters, teachers, first responders, law enforcement officers, so they could keep their cities and counties running. He will not support that. They have not done a thing for them. And Mitch McConnell said, let them go bankrupt. Let them go bankrupt. Come on. What's the matter with these guys?
The bill that was passed in the House was a bailout of badly run, high-crime, Democrat, all run by Democrats, cities and states. It was a way of getting a lot of money, billions and billions of dollars to these states. It was also a way of getting a lot of money from our people's pockets to people that come into our country illegally. We were going to take care of everything for them. And what that does, and I'd love to do that, I'd love to help them, but what that does, everybody all over the world will start pouring into our country. We can't do it. This was a way of taking care of them. This was a way of spending on things that had nothing to do with COVID, as per your question. But it was really a big bailout for badly run Democrat cities and states.
All right,
By the way,
I want to.
if I get elected, I'm running as a proud Democrat, but I'm going to be an American president. I don't see red states and blue states. What I see is American, United States. And folks, every single state out there finds themselves in trouble. They're going to start laying off, whether they're red or blue, cops, firefighters, first responders, teachers, because they have to balance their budget. And the founders were smart. They allowed the federal government to deficit spend to compensate for the United States of America.
I want to talk about the minimum wage, gentlemen. Mr. Vice President, we are talking a lot about struggling small businesses and business owners these days. Do you think this is the right time to ask them to raise the minimum wage? You, of course, support a $15 federal minimum wage.
I do, because I think one of the things we're going to have to do is we're going to have to bail them out, too. We should be bailing them out now, those small businesses. You got 1 in 6 of them going under. They're not going to be able to make it back. They passed a package that allows us to be able to call PPP. Money is supposed to go to help them do everything from organize how they can deal with their businesses being open safely. Schools, how they can make classrooms smaller, how they can hire more teachers, how they can put ventilation systems in. They need the help. The businesses as well as the schools need the help. But these guys will not help them. Is not giving them any of the money.
We are going to move on to immigration,
one thing very
but I
quickly,
want
he
to
said
get
we
your
have
reaction.
to help our small businesses by raising the minimum wage. That's not helping. I think it should be a state option. Alabama is different than New York. New York is different from Vermont. Every state is different. It should be a state option.
You said very
recently. We have to help. It's very important. We have to help our small businesses. How are you helping your small businesses when you're forcing wages? What's going to happen, and what's been proven to happen, is when you do that, these small businesses fire many of their employees.
You said very recently you would consider raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. You said recently you would consider raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. Is that still the case?
And I would consider it to an extent, but
in a
what I
second
really
administration?
like, in a second administration, but not to a level that's going to put all these businesses out of business. It should be a state option. Look, I've lived in different places. I know different places. They're all different. Some places, $15 is not so bad. In other places, other states, $15 would be
Okay, President
ruinous.
Trump, thank you. Quick response, Vice President Biden.
2 jobs, 1 job, be below poverty. People are making $6, $7, $8 an hour. These first responders, we all clap for as they come down the street because they've allowed us to make it. What's happening? They deserve a minimum wage of $15. Anything below that puts you below the poverty level. And there is no evidence that when you raise the minimum wage, businesses go out of business. That is simply not true.
We're going to talk about immigration. We're going to talk about immigration now, gentlemen, and we're going to talk about families within this context. Mr. President, your administration separated children from their parents at the border, at least 4,000 kids. You've since reversed your zero-tolerance policy, but the United States can't locate the parents of more than 500 children. So how will these families ever be reunited?
Children are brought here by coyotes and lots of bad people, cartels, and they're brought here, and they used to use them to get into our country. We now have as strong a border as we've ever had. We're over 400 miles of brand-new wall. You see the numbers, and we let people in, but they have to come in legally, and they come in through
But
merit.
how will you
But let
reunite
me
these
just tell
kids
you,
with their
Let me just
families,
tell you,
Mr.
they
President?
built cages. You know, they used to say, I built the cages, and then they had a picture in a certain newspaper, and it was a picture of these horrible cages, and they said, look at these cages. President Trump built them, and then it was determined they were built in 2014. That was him.
Do you
They
have a
built
plan to
cages.
reunite the kids
Yes,
with
we're
their
working on
families?
it we're trying very hard. But a lot of these kids come out without the parents. They come over through cartels and through coyotes and through gangs.
Vice President Biden, let me bring you into this
525
conversation. Quick response and then another question to you.
These 500-plus kids came with parents. They separated them at the border to make it a disincentive to come to begin with. Big, real tough. We're really strong. And guess what? They cannot, it's not coyotes didn't bring them over. Their parents were with them. They got separated from their parents. And it makes us a laughing stock and violates every notion of who we are as a nation.
Let me ask you a follow-up
Kristen,
question.
they did it. We changed the policy.
Your response
they
to that?
They did it. We changed.
did not
They built the
separate
cages.
they-
Who built the cages, Joe?
Let's talk about what
Who
we're
built the
talking about.
cages,
Let's
Joe?
talk about what we're talking about. What happened? Parents were ripped, their kids were ripped from their arms and separated. And now they cannot find over 500 sets of those parents, and those kids are alone. Nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. It's criminal. It's criminal.
Let me ask
Kristen,
you
I will
about
say this.
immigration.
They went
10
down.
seconds,
We
and
brought
then I need to ask
reporters,
a question.
everything. They are so well taken care of. They're in facilities that were so clean.
But some
that
of
have
them
gotten
haven't been
such
reunited
But
with their
just ask
families.
one question. Who built the cages? I'd love you to ask him that. Who built the cages?
Let me ask about your immigration policy, Mr. Vice President. The Obama administration did fail to deliver immigration reform, which had been a key promise during the administration. It also presided over record deportations as well as family detentions at the border before changing course. So why should voters trust you with an immigration overhaul now?
Because we made a mistake. It took too long to get it right. It took too long to get it right. I'll be president of the United States, not vice president of the United States. And the fact is, I've made it very clear. Within 100 days, I'm going to send to the United States Congress a pathway to citizenship for over 11 million undocumented people. And all of those so-called dreamers, those DACA kids, they're going to be immediately certified again to be able to stay in this country and put on a path to citizenship. The idea that they are being sent home by this guy, and they want to do that, is they've gone to a country they've never seen before. I can imagine you're 5 years old, your parents are taking you across the Rio Grande River, and it's illegal. And you say, oh, no, Mom, leave me here. I'm not going to go with you. They've been here. Many of them are model citizens. Over 20,000 of them are first responders out there taking care of people during this crisis. We owe them. We owe them.
President
Kristen,
Trump,
he
your
had
reaction.
8 years to do what he said he was going to do. And I've changed
We did.
without having a specific. We got rid of catch and release. We got rid of a lot of horrible things that they put in and that they lived with. But he had 8 years he was vice president. He did nothing except build cages to keep children in.
Vice President
Wrong.
Biden, your response.
The catch and release, you know what he's talking about there? If in fact you had a family came across and they were arrested, they in fact were given a date to show up for their hearing. They were released. And guess what? They showed up for a hearing. And this is the first president in the history of the United States of America that anybody seeking asylum has to do it in another country. That's never happened before in America. That's never happened before in America. You come to the United States and you make your case that I seek asylum based on the following premise, why I deserve it under American law. They're sitting in squalor on the other side of the river.
President Trump, your response,
So
30
important.
seconds, and then we'll move
It
on.
just shows that he has no understanding of immigration or the laws. Catch and release is a disaster. A murderer would come in, a rapist would come in, a very bad person would come in. We would take their name. We have to release them into our country. And then you say they come back. Less than 1% of the people come back. We have to send ICE out and Border Patrol out to find them. We would say, come back in 2 years, 3 years. We're going to give you a court case. You need Perry Mason. We're going to give you a court case. When you say they come back, they don't come back, Joe. They never come back. only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ, they might come back.
Okay,
But they're
President Trump,
very,
let's
very
give
few.
Vice President Biden a chance to respond, and then we're going to move on to the
You
next
don't know
section.
the law, Joe.
Vice President Biden, your response.
Know the law, what he's telling you is simply not true.
Well, check it out. They don't come back.
Check it out.
All right, let's move on
But we don't have
to
to
the
worry
next
about it because they
section.
terminated it, so we don't have to worry about it
Let's
anymore.
move on to the next
And you have
section.
525 kids not knowing where in God's name they're going to be and lost their parents.
Go ahead.
All right, let's talk about our next section, which is race in America. And I want to talk about the way Black and brown Americans experience race in this country. Part of that experience is something called the talk. It happens regardless of class and income. Parents who feel they have no choice but to prepare their children for the chance that they could be targeted, including by the police, for no reason other than the color of their skin. Mr. Vice President, in the next 2 minutes, I want you to speak directly to these families. Do you understand why these parents fear for their children?
I do. I do. You know, my daughter is a social worker, and she's written a lot about this. She has a graduate degree from the University of Pennsylvania in social work. And you know, one of the reasons why I ended up working on the east side of Wilmington, Delaware, which is 90% African American, was to learn more about what was going on. What I never had to tell my daughter, if she's pulled over, make sure she puts, for a traffic stop, put both hands on top of the wheel and don't reach for the glove box because someone may shoot you. But a black parent, no matter how wealthy or how poor they are, has to teach their child when you're walking down the street, don't have a hoodie on when you go across the street. Making sure that you, in fact, if you get pulled over, just yes, sir, no, sir, hands on top of the wheel, because you are, in fact, the victim, whether you're a person making child of a $300,000 a year person or someone who's on food stamps. The fact of the matter is, there is institutional racism in America. And we have always said, we've never lived up to it, that we hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women are created equal. Well, guess what? We have never, ever lived up to it, but we've always constantly been moving the needle further and further to inclusion, not exclusion. This is the first president to come along and says, that's the end of that. We're not going to do that anymore. We have to provide for economic opportunity, better education, better health care, better access to schooling, better access to opportunity to borrow money to start businesses. All the things we can do, and I've laid out a clear plan as to how to do those things, just to give people a shot. It's about accumulating the ability to have wealth as well as it is to be free from violence.
President Trump, same question to you, and let me remind you of the question. I would like you to speak directly to these families. Do you understand why these parents fear for their children?
Yes, I do. And again, he's been in government 47 years. He never did a thing except in 1994 when he did such harm to the black community. And they were called, and he called them super predators. And he said that. He said it, super predators. And they have never lived that down. 1994, your crime bill, the super predators. Nobody has done more for the black community than Donald Trump. And if you look, with the exception of Abraham Lincoln, possible exception, but the exception of Abraham Lincoln, nobody has done what I've done. Criminal justice reform, Obama and Joe didn't do it. I don't even think they tried because they had no chance at doing it. They might have wanted to do it, but if you had to see the arms I had to twist to get that done, it was not a pretty picture, and everybody knows it, including some very liberal people that cried in my office. They cried in the Oval Office. 2 weeks later, they're out saying, gee, we have to defeat him. Criminal justice reform, prison reform, opportunity zones with Tim Scott, a great senator from South Carolina. He came in with this incredible idea for opportunity zones. It's one of the most successful programs. People don't talk about it. Tremendous investment is being made. Biggest beneficiary, the black and Hispanic communities, and then historically black colleges and universities. After 3 years of coming to the office, I love some of those guys. They were great. They came into the office and they said, I said, what are you doing? After 3 years, I said, why do you keep coming back? Because we have no funding. I said, you don't have to come back every year. We have to come back because President Obama would never give them long-term funding, and I did. 10-year long-term funding, and I gave them more money than they asked for because they said, I think you need more. And I said, the only bad part about this is I may never see you again, because I got very friendly with them, and they like me and I like them. But I saved historically black colleges and universities.
Okay, and we're going to talk about both of your records, but your response to that, Vice President?
My response to that is I never, ever said what he accused me of saying. The fact of the matter is, in 2000, though, after the crime bill had been in the law for a while, this is a guy who said, the problem with the crime bill, there's not enough people in jail. There's not enough people in jail. And go on my website, get the quote, the date when he said it. Not enough people. He talked about marauding gangs, young gangs, and the people who are going to maraud our cities. This is a guy who in the Central Park five innocent black kids, he continued to push for making sure that they got the death penalty. None of them were guilty of the crimes they were suggested. Look, and talk about granted, he did in fact let 20 people, he commuted 20 people's sentences. We commuted over 1,000 people's sentences. Over 1,000. The very law he's talking about is a law that, in fact, initiated by Barack Obama. And secondly, we're in a situation here where the federal prison system was reduced by 38,000 people under our administration. And one of these things we should be doing, there should be no minimum mandatories in the law. That's why I'm offering $20 billion to states to change their state laws to eliminate minimum mandatories and set up drug courts. No one should be going to jail because they have a drug problem. They should be going to rehabilitation, not to jail. We should fundamentally change the system, and that's what I'm going to do.
But why didn't he do it 4 years ago? Why didn't you do that 4 years ago, even less than that? Why didn't you do it? You were vice president. You keep talking about all these things you're going to do, and you're going to do this. But you were there just a short time ago, and you guys did nothing.
We did.
You know, Joe, I ran because of you. I ran because of Barack Obama, because you did a poor job. If I thought you did a good job, I would have never run. I would have never run. I ran because of you. I'm looking at you now. You're a politician. I ran because of you.
All right, Vice President Biden, your response to that, and then I do have some questions for both of you.
Well, I tell you what, I hope he does look at me, because what's happening here is, you know who I am, you know who he is, you know his character, you know my character, you know our reputations for honor and telling the truth. I am anxious to have this race. I am anxious to see this take place. The character of the country is on the ballot. Our character is on the ballot. Look at us closely.
Let me ask some follow-up. Please respond, and then we're going to have follow-up
questions. If this stuff is true about Russia, Ukraine, China, other countries, Iraq, if this is true, then he's a corrupt politician.
All right.
So don't give me the stuff about how you're this innocent baby. Joe, they're calling you a corrupt politician.
Nobody.
President Trump, I want to stay on the issue of race. We're talking about the issue.
Laptop from hell.
President Trump, we're talking about race right now, and I do want to stay on the issue of race. President Trump,
I have to respond to that.
Please,
because look,
very quickly.
there are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plant. They have said that this has all the five former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
That's exactly what.
Is this
that's
where you're
exactly
going?
what.
This is where he's going. The laptop is Russia.
Gentlemen, I want to stay on the issue of race.
You have to be kidding. Here we go again with Russia.
We're going to continue on the issue of race. Mr. President, you've described the Black Lives Matter movement as a symbol of hate. You've shared a video of a man chanting white power to millions of your supporters. You've said that black professional athletes exercising their First Amendment rights should be fired. What do you say to Americans who say that kind of language from a president is contributing to a climate of hate and racial strife?
Well, you have to understand, the first time I ever heard of Black Lives Matter, they were chanting pigs in a blanket, talking about police. Pigs, talking about our police. Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. I said, that's a horrible thing. And they were marching down the street. And that was my first glimpse of Black Lives Matter. I thought it was a terrible thing. As far as my relationships with all people, I think I have great relationships with all people. I am the least racist person in this room.
Well, what do you say to Americans who are concerned by that rhetoric?
I don't know. I don't know what to say. I got criminal justice reform done and prison reform and opportunity zones. I took care of black colleges and universities. I don't know what to say. they can say anything. I mean, they can say anything. It makes me sad because I am the least racist person. I can't even see the audience because it's so dark, but I don't care who's in the audience. I'm the least racist person in this room.
Okay, Vice President Biden, let me ask you very quickly, and then I have a follow-up question for you.
Abraham Lincoln here is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history. He pours fuel on every single racist fire, every single one. He started off his campaign coming down the escalator saying he's going to get rid of those Mexican rapists. He's banned Muslims because they're Muslims. He has moved around and made everything worse across the board. He says about the poor boys, last time we were on stage here, he said, I told them to stand down and stand ready. Come on. This guy has a dog whistle about as big as a foghorn.
President Trump, I'm going to give you 10 seconds to respond, and then I have a follow-up question.
He made a reference to Abraham Lincoln. Where did that come in? I mean,
You said you're Abraham Lincoln.
No, where did that? No.
You said,
I said not since Abraham Lincoln has anybody done what I've done for the black community.
And I'm saying,
I didn't say I'm Abraham Lincoln. I said not since Abraham Lincoln has anybody done what I've done for the black community. Now, you have done nothing other than the crime bill, which put
oh, God.
Tens of thousands of black men, mostly, in jail.
All right, let me
you know what?
let me
they
ask
remember
Vice
it
President
because if you
Biden
look
a
at what's
question.
happening with the voting right now,
Let me ask
they
Vice
remember
President
that
Biden
you treated them
about
very, very badly. Just
the-
take a look at what's happening out there.
Vice President Biden, let me give you a chance to respond within this context. Crime
Okay.
bills that you supported in the 80s and 90s contributed to the incarceration of tens of thousands of young black men who had small amounts of drugs in their possession. They are sons, they are brothers, they're fathers, they're uncles, whose families are still to this day, some of them suffering the consequences. So speak to those families. Why should they vote for you?
One of the things is that in the 80s, we passed 100%, all 100 senators voted for it, a bill on drugs and how to deal with drugs. It was a mistake. I've been trying to change the since then, particularly the portion on cocaine. That's why I've been arguing that, in fact, we should not send anyone to jail for a pure drug offense. They should be going into treatment across the board. That's what we should be spending money on. That's why I set up drug courts, which were never funded by our Republican friends. They should not be going to jail for a drug or an alcohol problem. They should be going into treatment. That's what we've been trying to do. That's what I'm going to get done because I think the American people have now seen that, in fact, it was a mistake to pass those laws relating to drug. But they were not in the crime bill.
But why didn't he get it done? See, it's all talk, no action with these politicians. Why didn't he get it done? That's what I'm going to do when I become president. You were vice president along with Obama as your president, your leader, for 8 years. Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years to get it done. Now you're saying you're going to get it done because you're all talk and no action, Joe.
We got a
Your
lot of it
response.
done. We released
didn't get
38,000.
anything
We got
done.
38,000 prisoners left from the.
You got nothing done.
38,000 prisoners were released from federal prison. There were over 1,000 people who were given clemency. In fact, we're the ones that put in the legislation saying we could look at pattern and practice of police departments and what they were doing, how they were conducting themselves. I could go on, but we began the process. We lost an election. That's why I'm running to win back that election and change his terrible policy.
I
Quick
just
response,
asked,
and then we're
I
gonna
just
move
asked
on to
one
climate
question.
change.
Why didn't you do it in the 8 years, a short time ago? Why didn't you do it? You just said, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. You put tens of thousands of mostly black young men in prison. Now you're saying you're going to undo that. Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years with Obama. You know why, Joe? Because you're all talk and no action.
All right, Vice President
Because
Biden, and then we're going to move on to the next section.
We had a Republican Congress. That's the answer.
Well, you
Okay.
got to talk them into it, Joe.
All right.
Sometimes you got to talk them into it.
We're going to move on to our next section,
Like I
which
did
is
with criminal
climate
justice
change.
reform. I had
Okay.
to talk Democrats into it.
Gentlemen,
You did what we
we're running out of
already done.
time, so we got to get on to
Okay.
climate change, please. You both have very different visions on climate change. President Trump, you say that environmental regulations have hurt jobs in the energy sector. Vice President Biden, you have said you see addressing climate change as an opportunity to create new jobs. For each of you, how would you both combat climate change and support job growth at the same time? Starting with you, President Trump, you have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
So we have the Trillion Trees program. We have so many different programs. I do love the environment, but what I want is the cleanest, crystal clear water, the cleanest air. We have the best, lowest number in carbon emissions, which is a big standard that I notice Obama goes with all the time. Not Joe. I haven't heard Joe use the term because I'm not sure he knows what it represents or means, but I have heard Obama use it. And we have the best carbon emission numbers that we've had in 35 years under this administration. We are working so well with industry, but here's what we can't do. Look at China, how filthy it is. Look at Russia. Look at India. It's filthy. The air is filthy. The Paris Accord, I took us out because we were going to have to spend trillions of dollars, and we were treated very unfairly. When they put us in there, they did us a great disservice. They were going to take away our businesses. I will not sacrifice tens of millions of jobs, thousands and thousands of companies because of the Paris Accord. It was so unfair. China doesn't kick in until 2030. Russia goes back to a low standard, and we kicked in right away. It would have destroyed our businesses. So, you ready? We have done an incredible job environmentally. We have the cleanest air, the cleanest water, and the best carbon emission standards that we've seen in many, many years.
Vice President
And we
Biden.
haven't destroyed our industries.
Vice President Biden, 2 minutes to you, uninterrupted.
Climate change and climate warming, the global warming, is an existential threat to humanity. We have a moral obligation to deal with it. And we're told by all the leading scientists in the world we don't have much time. We're going to pass the point of no return within the next 8 to 10 years. 4 more years of this man eliminating all the regulations that were put in by us to clean up the climate, to limit the limit of emissions, will put us in a position where we're going to be in real trouble. Here's where we have a great opportunity. I was able to get both all the environmental organizations as well as labor, the people worried about jobs, to support my climate plan. Because what it does, it will create millions of new good-paying jobs. We're going to invest in, for example, 50,000 charging stations on our highways so that we can own the electric car market of the future. In the meantime, China is doing that. We're going to be in a position where we're going to see to it that we're going to take 4 million existing buildings and 2 million existing homes and retrofit them so they don't leak as much energy, saving hundreds of millions of barrels of oil in the process and creating significant number of jobs. And by the way, the whole idea of what this is all going to do, it's going to create millions of jobs, and it's going to clean the environment. Our health and our jobs are at stake. That's what's happening. And what right now, by the way, Wall Street firms indicated that my plan will in fact create 18.6 million jobs, 7 million more than his. This is from Wall Street. And I'll create $1 trillion more in economic growth than his proposal does. Not on climate, just on the economy.
President Trump, you're
They came out and said very strongly, $6,500 will be taken away from families under his plan, that his plan is an economic disaster. If you look at what he wants to do, you know, if you look at his plan, his environmental plan, you know who developed it? AOC +3. They know nothing about the climate. I mean, she's got a good line of stuff, but she knows nothing about the climate. And they're all hopping through hoops for AOC +3. Look, their real plan costs $100 trillion. If we had the best year in the history of our country for 100 years, we would not even come close to a number like that. When he says buildings, they want to take buildings down because they want to make bigger windows into smaller windows. As far as they're concerned, if you had no window, it would be a lovely thing. This is the craziest plan that anybody has ever seen. And this wasn't done by smart people. This wasn't done by anybody. Frankly, I don't even know how it can be good politically. Right. They want to spend $100 trillion. That's their real number. He's trying to say it was 6. It's $100 trillion. They want to knock down buildings and build new buildings with little, tiny, small windows. I mean, and many other things. Okay. And many other things.
Let me have the Vice President respond, and we're running out of time, and we have a lot more questions to get to.
Country.
So let's hear from the Vice President. I have a number more questions.
I don't know where he comes from. I don't know where he comes up with these numbers.
Queens.
$100 trillion. Give me a break. This plan was, endorsed by every major environmental group and every labor group. Labor, because they know the future lies. The future lies in us being able to breathe, and they know there are good jobs in getting us there. And by the way, the fastest growing industry in America is solar energy and wind. He thinks wind causes cancer, windmills. It's the fastest growing jobs, and they pay good prevailing wages, 45, 50 bucks an hour. We can grow and we can be cleaner if we go the route I'm proposing.
President Trump,
Excuse me.
please
We are
respond, and then I have
we
some
are
follow-ups.
energy independent for the first time. We don't need all of these countries that we had to fight war over because we needed their energy. We are energy independent. I know more about wind than you do. It's extremely expensive, kills all the birds, it's very intermittent, it's got a lot of problems, and they happen to make the windmills in both Germany and China. And the fumes coming up, if you're a believer in carbon emission, the fumes coming up to make these massive windmills is more than anything that we're talking about with natural gas, which is very clean. One other thing.
Find me a scientist
Solar.
who said that.
I love solar, but solar doesn't quite have it yet. It's not powerful yet to really run our big, beautiful factories that we need to compete with the world. So
False.
It's all a pipe dream. But you know what we'll do? We're going to have the greatest economy in the world. But if you want to kill the economy, get rid of your oil industry. You want, and what about fracking?
All right,
Now we have to ask
let me
about
allow
fracking.
Vice President Biden to
I
respond.
never said I oppose fracking.
You said it on tape.
I did. Show the tape. Put it on your website.
I'll put it on.
Put it on the website. The fact of the matter is
Showed
he's
it last
flat lying.
Would you rule out banning fracking?
I do rule out banning fracking because the answer, we need other industries to transition to get to ultimately a complete zero emissions by 2025. What I will do with fracking over time is make sure that we can capture the emissions from the fracking, capture the emissions from gas. We can do that, and we can do that by investing money in doing it, but it's a transition to that.
I have one more question in this pod, and then
Excuse me,
we have.
he was against fracking. He said it. I will show that to you tomorrow. I am against fracking. Until he got the nomination, went to Pennsylvania, then he said, but you know what, Pennsylvania? He'll be against it very soon because his party is totally against it.
Fracking on federal land, I said. No fracking and or oil on federal
Let
land.
me ask this final
did.
question in this section, and then I want to move on to our final section. President Trump, people of color are much more likely to live near oil refineries and chemical plants. In Texas, there are families who worry the plants near them are making them sick. Your administration has rolled back regulations on these kinds of facilities. Why should these families give you another 4 years in office?
The families that we're talking about are employed heavily, and they're making a lot of money, more money than they've ever made. If you look at the kind of numbers that we produce for Hispanic, for Black, for Asian, it's 9 times greater, the percentage gain, than it was in 3 years, than it was under 8 years of the 2 of them, to put it nicely. 9 times more. Now, somebody lives, I have not heard the numbers or the statistics that you're saying, but they're making a tremendous amount of money economically. We saved it, and I saved it again a number of months ago when oil was crashing because of the pandemic. We saved it. We got, say what you want about relationship, we got Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Russia to cut back, way back. We saved our oil industry, and now it's very vibrant again.
All right.
And everybody has very inexpensive gasoline. Remember
Vice
that.
President Biden, your response, and then we're going to have a final question for both of you.
My response is that those people live on what they call fence lines. He doesn't understand this. They live near chemical plants that, in fact, pollute, chemical plants and oil plants and refineries that pollute. I used to live near that when I was growing up in Claymont, Delaware. And all the more oil refineries in Marcus Hook and the Delaware River than there is any place, including in Houston at the time. When my mom get in the car and when there was first frost to drive me to school, turn in the windshield wiper, there'd be oil slick in the window. That's why so many people in my state were dying and getting cancer. The fact is, those frontline communities, it doesn't matter what you're paying them, it matters how you keep them safe. What do? And you impose restrictions on the pollutions, the pollutants coming out of those fence line communities.
Okay, I have one final
Would he
question.
close
It
down
falls-
the oil industry?
It falls.
Would you close
it
down the
falls-
oil
By the way, I
industry?
would transition from the oil industry, yes.
Oh,
I will
that's
transition.
a big statement.
It is a big statement.
That's a big
because
statement.
I would stop,
Why would you do that?
because the oil industry pollutes significantly.
I see.
And here's the deal, but
That's
you
a
can't
big
do that.
statement.
Well, if you let me finish the statement, because it has to be replaced by renewable energy over time, And I'd stop giving to the oil industry, I'd stop giving them federal subsidies. He won't give federal subsidies to the gas, excuse me, to solar and wind.
Yeah.
Why are we giving it to oil industry?
We actually do
All
give
right.
it to solar and wind.
We
And
have
that's
one
maybe the
final
biggest
question.
statement in terms of business. That's the biggest statement.
Okay.
Because
We have
basically
one
what he's
final
saying
question,
is he is
Mr.
going to
President.
destroy the oil industry. Will you remember that, Texas? Will you
Okay.
remember that, Pennsylvania, Oklahoma?
Vice President Biden, let me give you 10 seconds to respond, and then I
Ohio.
have to get to the final question. Vice President Biden.
He takes everything out of context, but the point is, look, we have to move toward a net zero emissions. The first place to do that by the year 2035 is in energy production, by 2050 totally.
All right. One
Is he gonna
final
get
question
China to
both
do
of you.
it?
No, we're finished with
Is
this.
he
We
going
have
to
to
get
move on
China
to
to
our
do it?
final question. We
No,
have to
I'm
move
going
on
to
to our final
rejoin Paris
question.
Accord and make China abide by what they agreed to.
All right,
That'll
this
cost you
is
$1
about
trillion.
leadership, gentlemen. And this first question does go to you, President Trump. Imagine this is your inauguration day. What will you say in your address to Americans who did not vote for you? You'll each have 1 minute, starting with you, Mr.
We have to make a country totally successful as it was prior to the plague coming in from China. Now we're rebuilding it, and we're doing record numbers, 11.4 million jobs in a short period of time, et cetera. But I will tell you, go back. Before the plague came in, just before, I was getting calls from people that were not normally people that would call me. They wanted to get together. We had the best black unemployment numbers in the history of our country. Hispanic, women, Asian, people with diplomas, with no diplomas, MIT graduates, #1 in the class. Everybody had the best numbers. And you know what? The other side wanted to get together. They wanted to unify. Success is going to bring us together. We are on the road to success. But I'm cutting taxes, and he wants to raise everybody's taxes, and he wants to put new regulations on everything. He will kill it. If he gets in, you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen. Your 401ks will go to hell, and it'll be a very, very sad day for this country.
All right. Vice President Biden, same question to you. What will you say during your inaugural address to Americans who did not vote for you?
I will say, I'm an American president. I represent all of you, whether you voted for me or against me. And I'm going to make sure that you're represented. I'm going to give you hope. We're going to move. We're going to choose science over fiction. We're going to choose hope over fear. We're going to choose to move forward because we have enormous opportunities to make things better. We can grow this economy. We can deal with the systemic racism. And at the same time, we can make sure that our economy is being run and moved and motivated by clean energy, creating millions of new jobs. And that's the fact. That's what we're going to do. And I'm going to say, as I said at the beginning, what is on the ballot here is the character of this country: decency, honor, respect, treating people with dignity, making sure that everyone has an even chance. And I'm going to make sure you get that. You haven't been getting it the last 4 years.
All right. I want to thank you both for a very robust hour and a half, a fantastic debate. Really appreciate it. President Trump, former Vice President Joe Biden, thank you to Belmont University for hosting us tonight. And most importantly, thank you to those watching tonight. Election Day is November 3rd. Don't forget to vote. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.
Thank you.
All right, we have just finished the final presidential debate, and boy, was it a hell of a debate. Clear and concise win for President Trump. I'm not just saying that because I love the guy. It was a clear win. As we saw in it, Biden started falling apart really quickly, and Trump was firing on all cylinders through the entire thing. Brought up Hunter Biden, nailed him on China, nailed him on immigration, nailed him on everything. Started off on the defensive a little bit, but he came right back with the fire, and he just destroyed him. Absolutely devastating defeat for Biden. Trump was on message, America first, populism, nationalism, the entire way. So good, so good, so good. Let's see what the Twitter world is saying about, though. Wow. That was the best debate, by far, of this election cycle. Let's see if we're going to get our co-hosts in here. They should be joining us soon. And we will talk more about this. But the biggest takeaway for me was that line.
What's up?
Oh, Alex, you're here. Did you see the whole debate?
I saw most of it. I probably came on around 9:20.
Trump
So
won.
Yeah, I
Clearly.
agree with that. That shit was night and day compared to, the usual.
All the debates.
Well, yeah, like compared to the first one, especially.
Yeah. Scott Adams said solid debate, Trump won. I agree. Was a solid debate and Trump won. The moderator, too, was by far the fairest moderator. She had definitely a left-leaningness to her, but I think she was by far the fairest. Not 100% fair, but by far the fairest moderator.
Yeah, I agree. He definitely got a fair shake this time. I'm actually glad that Trump missed out on that second debate, because with the stuff that we know now about that moderator, it would have been bad.
Oh, it would have been terribly biased. But you notice, too, I don't know if you caught this moment when they were talking about the coronavirus relief bill, and they were asking Trump why he didn't pass like the recent bill, and she's like, "Oh, you're the president. Why didn't you do it?" And then he was pushing and saying, "Well, Biden, your party didn't do anything. The Democrats are holding up, yada yada." And then the moderator asked Biden, "Since you are now the leader of the Democratic Party, why haven't you helped them get it done?" And Biden got so fucking angry, so mean, so nasty. He did not like that question. Biden hated that question, and he just fucking lost his shit.
I was about to say, I think he started cracking at the end. I think
He was cracking the whole time, dude. He was falling.
especially the Lincoln thing. I think was like that whole statement, because he called like the Proud Boys the poor boys. He called Trump Lincoln. He's gonna go and say, "Oh, I was referring to this bullshit, dude. You forgot." Like that is
find that, because I missed that part. I heard Trump's when he brought it up, but yeah, what the fuck did he say?
Pretty sure he called them the poor boys.
Yeah, he said, yeah, apparently, yeah, he did. I did hear the poor boys thing. I laughed at that. I thought, oh, we should talk about poor boys. How about the poor kids that you said were just as smart as white kids, Joe Biden?
Yeah, no, like you should go and you should rename the channel to the poor boys.
Dude, the Proud Boys should rename themselves that. The condemned poor boys.
Yeah, so is he referring to that? So he called them poor boys racist, and he refers. Well, the Democrats, they refer to, you're not poor if you're white. You don't know poverty if you're white. So I guess he's calling black boys and President Lincoln racist. The most you call President Lincoln the most racist president until
I have a number more
that's
questions.
pretty funny. Just like you said you missed the part where he called Trump Lincoln.
What was that?
You saw the part where he called Trump Lincoln.
That's the part I missed, kind of. I'm trying to find it right now, because I didn't quite hear what Biden said. Of course, I'm not finding on Twitter.
You're the most racist president. Like, he called, basically, he was trying to refer to
Lincoln
Trump.
The most racist president?
Yes. He says it's fucking funny.
What was funny, too, is what, oh, God, what did when he got him on the fracking thing, at the end there, and Biden kept saying he didn't call to get rid of fracking, And Trump, and he's like, "Well, put it on your website." And Trump's like, "I will." And literally on fucking cue, the @RealDonaldTrump Twitter account says, "Here you go, @Joe Biden," and plays the fucking video.
Yeah, I think this was great. Like, honestly, I think that was a fucking slam dunk of a debate.
It was a slam dunk.
Because he was like Biden was on the defense most of the time. Like the first debate, Trump he was on the defense more than he probably should have been. Like
Yeah.
I still think he lost the first debate.
I don't think Trump. Wait, Trump? You said lost first debate?
The first debate, yeah.
I don't think he lost it. I think it was a draw, because they were both slinging mud and throwing shit at each other. That it kind of canceled out. I think Biden did better than people expected, but I think in this one, Biden was just low energy, for the fucking around, couldn't get a single sentence together, and just fucked he looked so. The contrast again, come back to the contrast. You have Trump, alpha, strong energy. Biden was weak, low energy, pathetic, and losing it. So terrible. So terrible for him. How many people tuned into this debate? I don't know, but bad.
Well, I think some people probably, I don't know the numbers yet, but I'm pretty sure more people would, because they're curious about that, the laptop stuff. And they did ask, he asked about that. And then Biden said that was it was a Russian related object.
He made a Russian hoax.
Which I'm pretty sure that's been debunked. Like that,
yeah. The FBI has their hands on the laptop. And and Biden hasn't denied that it's his son's. He still didn't deny it here.
Yeah,
there was one other funny thing I'm trying to forget that happened. That I literally I just lost it. But there was something else that was really funny. It was somewhat near the last third of it.
Yeah, how's the beginning, by the way? What, the first 20 or so minutes?
The first 20 minutes, honestly, was very uneventful. Trump was almost on defense too much. He wasn't attacking Biden yet. And I thought, because he's going to wait for the real, an attack on him. And once Biden swung, Trump's always a counterpunch. I knew he would wait. He slithers and waits. And then once he got attacked, he attacked back. So.
Yeah, I think that's his strategy, because to defeat Biden, rhetorically, you have to kind of, he's most powerful at the beginning when he's taking his medication.
Yeah.
And then the longer you wait, the weaker he gets. So it's more of it's an endurance test than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's what Trump did this time. And because I think after the first debate, he realized, the strategy to use for Biden. And I think Biden forgot about the strategy to use for Trump, or because I said that after the first debate, Trump would, he would use this to go monitor him. And I think,
well, Trump is the quickest learner ever. And I've always said, I'm not worried about this debate. I was telling somebody that at the office today. I'm like, look, Trump adapts so quickly and learns so quickly. He's going to kill it. I think he's going to do good. And he did. The other thing, too, is the cages part. Trump was like, who made the cages, Joe? Huh? Who made the cages that locked up that separated the families? And Biden wouldn't answer.
Yeah, no, and then he kept hearing about the the people coming over here. The thing is, he wouldn't have to separate them if they were actually if you could actually prove they were fucking their kids, not they're fucking their kids like a pedophile, but they were their kids, because there's a lot of those people, those coyotes, they are pedophiles. I think it was over 50% of people who get smuggled over who are female or children get sexually abused on the way.
Mm-hmm.
So to go and leave kids into the care of people that they're claimed to be their parents, but you don't have any documentation, because guess what? They're undocumented when they come over here. They don't have any sort of identification, because they're illegal.
I think it was smart to reverse the policy politically, but the thing that looked to me the worst was the fact that they never explain, and this is just a detail the public's probably gonna go right over their head. It's these cages, these quote unquote cages, these ICE facilities are the nicest places ever. They're nicer than the Penn State dorms, and I'm not even using hyperbole. They literally
That's
are.
not saying much.
Yeah,
not
it's
saying
true.
much.
But you get my point. It's like that. It's not like they're being thrown in some like ghetto. It's a freaking. They have beds. They have like pool tables. They have basketball. They have all kinds of shit. Probably have
It's like
TVs. Yeah, it's like a summer camp. That's what Candace Owens called it.
Dude, ABC is nut hugging on Biden hard.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
What did you think
Yeah.
of the debate, Phil?
Trump kicked his ass.
Oh, he kicked his ass. Yep.
It was bad. It was bad. Well, I mean, okay, like so we knew. I had a feeling if it was fair, like my biggest worry before it like was my biggest worry was that the moderator Kristen Welker would be hard left.
That's what I thought. And I thought was
And-
by
and she
far the
wa-
fairest of any
and
moderator.
she actually, I thought she was better than Chris Wallace.
Oh, she was miles
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, I mean that's not saying much. That's like
Well, she actually pressed Biden on things. Like,
Yeah, it was shocked me and pissed Biden off. This was mentioned, Alex. Did you notice the moment when she asked Biden, since you're the leader of the Democratic Party, why aren't you doing anything to help with the coronavirus relief bill? And he lost his shit. He got so angry. It was like a light turned on. He totally changed tone there, like completely.
well, he had well like with the other debates. Actually, like with the first, well, one of the reasons why I think Trump shot himself in the foot in the first debate was he kept interrupting, like keeping interrupting, because like Biden has this like 30-second memorized speech. Like anytime he gets asked a question, he has this 30-second speech that he has like pre-memorized, and once you break him from that
Exactly.
is when you see where
fucks
he
up.
really is. Yeah. And so like wait a minute, what was it?
He never thought he would get asked never get asked that question.
So right when Trump asked him about the Hunter Biden situation, he said some real Joe Biden really tried to do some shrewd shit, right? Like he said, I never took a penny from a foreign entity. See, now this is catchy, right? Because technically, no.
Yeah, technically he literally didn't.
Technically he didn't. So technically he had Biden as his he had Hunter as his bag man or as his intermediary to do it for him, right? So,
I didn't dump the body. I would never do that.
yeah.
I'm gonna answer that shit.
No, I didn't do. I paid somebody else to do it for me.
Pretty much.
And so, but once you got him past that, then the bullshit started coming. Like, oh, Hunter didn't make money off of China. Obviously, that was real bullshit, right? Like you're talking. Like once you get him past that stuff, then the bullshit starts coming, right? And that's what we were looking for, and that's what Trump did extremely well this time around.
Well, see what Biden did, and like what he didn't say. He was saying, oh, Hunter got the job because he wasn't like through some sort of illicit means or whatever. Yeah, and then like Trump brought up like, well, okay, so you're having somebody who got kicked out of the military, who has a drug addiction, and he's getting paid $180,000 a month by a Ukrainian gas company when he has no experience in gas.
Yep.
Like Biden never explained how that makes sense.
And he still never denied
exactly
that the emails were emails weren't accurate.
Yep, I brought that up.
Never denied that.
I know he never denied it, and I love to when Trump. Well, first of all, did you notice he dropped the M-bomb malarkey again?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that's such cringe, like boomer cringe.
Yeah. So
Malarkey.
there was a couple things. Speaking of cringe, there was a couple things that were fucking cringe. The other one, that malarkey one, that's pretty cringe.
Are you
but,
thinking
like,
of the moment where he would like answer that one question? It was like dead silence for like 10 seconds.
That is also that. Thanks for bringing that up. That was cringe, very cringe too.
And Trump's like, you have to talk to people.
Yeah,
you have to talk to them.
I'm like, that was the point where I was like, the ship is sinking, Biden. The ship is sinking. And like, I mean, but okay. I'm regressing here. then you had the wait a minute, what the fuck was I talking about? Okay.
Wait, Phil, did you see that part where he he called Trump fucking Lincoln?
Yeah, like what are you talking about? Like what? Yeah, like I'm looking at this world. Like what the fuck are you talking about, dude?
And then he made up some bullshit excuse like, "Oh, well, you're talking about Lincoln, so I
Trump's
think
like,
you're
what?
Lincoln."
Wait,
Like,
did he throw an Obama under the bus too?
yeah,
He did, yeah. He's like,
Yeah.
oh,
then-
I was just the vice president. I'm like, whoa, dude.
Yo.
he's fucking campaigning for you and throwing his ass under the bus. Like, come on, Biden.
And he
Dude.
threw the Bernie Bros under the bus. He's like, no,
Yeah.
I would not. God, what was the line? Sorry, slipping me. I think it was about the minimum wage, or what was it?
Yeah, there was a minimum wage type thing where they were like, well, here's. I'll start by saying, look, the one mistake Kristen Welker made was asking Trump about why he didn't get anything done as far as the COVID relief. Like nobody took a civics class or even watched a fucking episode of Schoolhouse Rock, like to see how bills work, right? You know,
Yeah.
It's like,
She's like, well,
you
you're
know,
the president.
like
Bitch.
he's the last person to get the fucking bill. He needs
Yeah.
to get the bill in order for it to actually go through. But yeah, but then, yeah, wait a minute, what was I said? God damn it, I keep regressing myself. But yeah, going back to,
I know, my mind's going the same way as yours.
it's like 100 miles an hour here.
Yeah.
There's so much to unpack.
One thing I'll say quickly
Okay,
is
cringe.
Okay,
Let's go back to cringe.
You remember the cringe? The cringe?
The cringe. He kept staring at the fucking screen again. What the fuck? He's kept staring at the camera and pointing it to it real weird, like
He's
but
talking to the
America,
people,
like,
Phil.
and it's just it was bad. It just didn't look. It looked bad. It was like it didn't look authentic. It just looked terrible. Like it didn't like there's a way to do it, right? There's a way to look at the crap. Like, look, if you do it, you kind of do it a little bit, and you do it kind of, you know, there's
Trump did it a few times.
there's a natural engagement. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trump did it, like, but he didn't like do it. Like, the problem with Biden was he did it every fucking time. Like, you have to do it a little bit. Like, if you're gonna relate to the people and to the people at home, you got to do it like a little bit. Like, go, you know, look at it a little bit, make your move, and then go right back to the debate. He didn't. As soon as he got asked a question, he said a couple sentences and then went to staring at the camera. Like, what the fuck are you doing? That looks just cringe as hell.
And he does this pandery shit that, like, I keep seeing people think it's smart. Like, oh, he's talking to the audience. He's talking to the camera. Christie did that.
It would be if he knew
he would.
It would be if he knew what the fuck he was doing. But it just doesn't look.
Well,
It just doesn't look authentic at all.
Yeah,
And
exactly. It's
so-
pandering. It's phony. Christie did. A bunch of other people always do it. It never works. And a good example, too, is that Trump kept going back to one of those 2016 themes. He's a politician, a typical politician. I'm not, and that's why I won. And he brought it up to, like, when Joe said, oh, these people around these families around their tables. I forget what that was all about. And Trump's like mocking. He's like, what's this shit? You know, this is some politician talking. Like,
and then
perfect way to answer that. Perfect
I
way.
think Biden's his boomerisms, I think, just sort of took hold.
Yeah.
It's like, honestly, who, like, what families really even sit around the fucking table anymore?
the
Mine
thing
does.
that got me was like the thing that made me say, like, the thing that made the red alert go was Biden was asked. Biden was responding to something that Trump said, and then Biden tried to quote Trump, but he couldn't do it. Like, he couldn't get the quote. And then so he's like, well, look on my website. It's right there. I got it on there. Just look at it. I'm like, oh, the ship is sunk, right?
Yeah.
That's when I felt like it was gone. Like
Well,
Biden was
yeah.
gone.
And also, like, you can tell, like, when he's in those moments, he's like, go to the website. 'Cause he doesn't really know what he's talking about. He really doesn't have it in his head.
Yeah.
And he's directing people there. And that's a prepared thing. And it's just, again, it's very, Biden really just felt like, what we had been hoping for in the first debate was that Biden would have a fuck up. Like the Abe Lincoln
Yeah.
thing. Like, you know it's going to happen. You just got to kind of push him to it. And that's what I think the moderator might have pushed him more than Trump because of that
Well-
one question where he started getting really nasty and he got really off his game.
The one thing I will credit Kristen Welker doing, she allowed them to respond. Like maybe too much,
But she did allow
But
it.
what it did, that probably helped, but that actually helped Trump because like obviously the more responses that were being given, the more it favored Trump because Trump had the responses. Like once Biden went past that 30-second memorized clip, it was kind of over, right? That topic was over. And so when both of them responded, you could tell that Biden
Yeah.
was starting to lose it more and more and more. And then that played into even the later minutes of the debate. Like, as you could tell, the meds were starting to wear off. He was starting to the attention span was starting to shorten. That like he was starting to get a little bit more antsy, a little bit more frustrated. Like you could tell I mean Trump, he completely dominated. Like
This is a funny tweet too from Posobiec where he says, White House sources tell at OAN, Trump walked off stage, looked at staff, and said, quote, let's finish this, and walked off to the motorcade.
Oh,
Fucking
yeah.
badass.
Yeah.
Chad. Absolute Chad. I just love him. This is why he knows, like, there's been a shift in Trump. I'm going to talk about something that I didn't talk about in the last show, a little exclusive insight. Trump is just on fire. Like, he is on top of the world right now. And that's when he's at his best. This is 2016 energy right here. And the reason I am really emphasizing that is because, and this has already been leaked to the media, so I'm not talking about anything that's private anymore, but I was on a call with Trump. I know, I make that sound a little more dramatic than it really was, but it's one of those like conferencey calls that you can get on, but you can't really say anything. It was with President Trump, campaign manager Bill Stepien, and pretty much the whole Pennsylvania staff for the campaign, and probably then some. And it was surreal. It was awesome. It was raw. Trump said the polls were bullshit, and what raised my eyebrows, and I thought, if press is on, they're gonna fucking make this a headline. When he goes, yeah, and then you had these idiots and Anthony Fauci, and he, that said you could, we shouldn't do this and that. And I thought, oh boy, that's gonna be everywhere. And it turned out to be. But the bigger takeaway I got than all that sort of stuff was when he said, I am happier than ever before. I am loving this more than ever before. This is the best day ever. This was the last day of voter registration in Pennsylvania. That was this Monday. Shit. Can't believe it felt like a long time ago. And I could feel it in his voice, in his cadence, in his tone, in his energy. He was high energy and joyful as ever. So happy, loving what he's doing. I mean, it was amazing. Amazing hearing that type of Trump. Because you don't always see that on TV. You don't always see that at the rallies. It just felt like a more personal, raw side of him that blew me away and told me this guy is going to win. That was the moment I definitively thought, we're winning this shit. We're winning this shit.
Yeah, but Biden was like, Obama was the most racist president in modern history. Like, are you high? Are you talking about the guy that abolished the ownership of black people? That dude?
You
what
mean
the
Lincoln?
fuck are you talking about?
Yeah,
Lincoln.
You pulled a Biden over there.
What? Oh yeah, no, Abraham Lincoln. No, I was
I mean,
I
you're
was
not
quoting.
Yeah, I was gonna say you weren't wrong in what you were saying originally.
Yeah, Biden was saying Abraham Lincoln was the most racist president in modern history, and I'm like, are you kidding me? the guy
Not
who
modern. Like maybe to Biden he's modern because he's a fucking boomer, but like, you know, you could actually make an argument that Lincoln was actually racist because he did
Hot take.
advocate. There's actually an
I mean,
argument, but I don't think
like-
he's going to be. That wasn't what he was trying to do.
but that's not a good look when you're
Yeah.
saying that the guy who abolished the ownership of black people, like that he's a racist. Like, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? Like, what are you talking about? Like, that's not good.
Well,
That's
and
not
speaking
that's
of
not
that,
a good look.
Too, said, and Posobiec saying a similar thing when they were talking about race, which is usually Trump's weakest part. Not that I think that Trump's racist or wrong or anything. I think he's been doing more than, like he says, for minorities than anybody else. It tends to not come off as well as it should. And I think he did a really good job on race, and Biden just blustered. Just didn't really prove anything because Trump pivoted to, I've done the opportunity zones, criminal justice reform, funded historically black colleges. What have you done? You've done nothing. You talk that you're going to do all these things. You had 8 years, you didn't do shit. Perfect way to frame it. Again, back to the outsiders versus insiders. This is the frame that needs to be remembered. That is what it's all about, and it's coming back to that. But you could tell Trump was on his game. Solid. I mean, how does he lose? I just don't see him losing at all. Period. I mean, I've said for the past, ever since he won pretty much, that he's going to win a second term. But, like, I've never been more confident and have zero doubts in my mind that he's going to do anything but win. He is going to win. I have zero doubts that he's going to win. Unless the election is stolen from him.
Well, I mean, that's always in the.
It's always
I
That's
think-
always in the cards.
Yeah.
I think he's been I've seen the polls are bullshit, but even the fucking polls are starting to start to fucking narrow for
Yeah,
Trump's
even the bullshit polls have him only a few percentage points away in some states. I'm like, he must be killing it then. But then you have bullshit polls like the Fox poll. It says he's down 12 in Michigan, which makes 0 sense.
Yeah,
can tell
ABC
you
brought up.
The internal
ABC
polls
brought up a
look
bullshit
really
poll.
good.
ABC brought up a bullshit poll with that said he was down 25 points with senior citizens, which is like complete bullshit. Because
Bullshit.
like if that were the case, he'd be getting wiped the fuck out in Florida. Like that's
Mhm.
like no.
These are voter suppression polls. If they're intentionally or unintentionally, they are voter suppression polls. And I've seen people, they come to me and they go, "Oh, Sean, he's down 12 in PA. Like, give me some comfort. Like, give me some hope." And I'm like,
You know what
listen,
you should do though?
ignore him.
You like meaning the at the office, you should have a TV screen
We do.
that has the polls right now and the polls 4 years ago, right? You should have a split screen. One side has the polls right now, the other has the polls 4 years ago, and look at how fucking identical they are. And like, oh, see, we've been through this before. It doesn't end well for them.
That's what I always tell them. I said, do you remember 2016? Do you remember 4 years ago? It's the same story.
So that way, when somebody's like, "Oh my God, what about the polls? What about the polls?" You just point at the fucking screen, like, "Look,
Yeah.
see, right here, right here."
But I do think he's doing pretty good now. Like I think he's been on a pretty good winning streak lately. I think this tops
the
it off.
energy,
The fact
yeah.
that Biden stuff, like with the computer, like you couldn't ask for a better like October surprise.
And he stuck it to him in a debate, and he has Biden on tape denying, well, not really denying, but sort of skirting around saying he didn't take a penny from these countries, It can all be used in ads, and then the part about fracking can be used. I mean, it was just a clear win.
And he dodged that shit too.
Yeah, he dodged the shit out
Well,
of it.
and then here's the thing too. It's got pissed off people on the left because he said I will never ban fracking too. So it's like it's a lose-lose for Biden. Like he's lying, and then he's pissing off his own party.
He pisses off the Bernie bros again. That's the thing nobody's really talking about, is how the Bernie Bros, we all know that like 99% of them aren't gonna come out. But like, if he started pivoting further left a little bit on some things, he might have been able to convince a few to come out. None of them are coming out. None.
Mhm.
I mean, it's
And
devastating. Like, really
think one of
devastating
the
for them.
I think another strategy that Biden tried and is failing with too, just like Hillary did 4 years ago, is she's trying to get these fucking celebrities to like endorse, like these celebrity endorsements, like really, it's like really bad. Like when Hillary had that, she started having those concerts with like Jay-Z and Katy
Yep, you could feel
Perry
the
and all that.
desperation.
Like it was just it was bad. Like what are you doing? Like what are you doing?
Well, did you see Biden's pulling out the Avengers now? Fucking Avengers are assembling to get out the vote for Joe.
Yeah, like
Well,
what
it
do you
pissed me off. I saw like a Sam Elliott fucking ad. I actually like that guy, but like now
Yeah.
that's really pissing me off.
Who?
Yeah. Well,
Sam,
I mean, well,
Who?
let's be real. Like if you're like I expect uh every like almost everybody in the entertainment industry to be pro Biden because they're all getting Chinese money, right? Like I expect it.
well,
What
not
I
even
don't
just
expect, say it again.
It's not even just that. Look where they're based out. They're out of fucking California. It's
But I
like,
mean, but
like Facebook. Like, do you expect them to have a conservative bias on fucking Facebook or Twitter when they're all
look,
based on the most
without yeah, I agree with you in a way, but like really without China, Hollywood's dead. Social media's dead. TV's dead. Like there's a lot. Like cuz
social media because the Facebook and shit, they're not even in China. To my
yeah,
knowledge.
cuz well you look at most of the people, like Hollywood's gotten in, like even when we're going back to California, right? California, like with Hollywood, like people left, even Hollywood left Hollywood, right? A lot of these places are going to like Miami and Atlanta now. Like like the film industry has been going to Atlanta for a lot of the part. Like, they're leaving California, and like I just like, I know that that's a little bit of a regression, but like the if but a lot of these, like when with Twitter, right? A lot of these social media companies were not doing very good until Trump really kind of came on the scene. And then it's like, well, like even look at Netflix, right? Netflix, over 80% of the stock is owned by institutional financing that does like multi-billion-dollar business in China. The CEO, I think he only owns like maybe 0.8% of the stock or something like that. So if they do anything to piss off China, he's fucking out of there. Like he's out of there in a heartbeat. Like, so you really do, like with companies like Netflix, you really do have to toe that China line, or else that's
Yeah,
it.
that's a film though. Like that's sort of like a film in that sort of area. But like social media, I would say, at least for Facebook, definitely not, because they've been the ones who've been really pushing anti TikTok stuff. Well, YouTube probably more so than Facebook, but I know they all don't like that. Like I thought Zuckerberg was actually pushing against like a WeChat and TikTok because it encroaches on their business.
Also, I want to dive in some real quick. Well, not dive into, but mention real quick. Somebody from the Wall Street Journal, Kimberly
Okay.
Strassel, is saying that she has obtained the Bobolinsky, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name right, emails and texts. We've been through them all. My coming column online soon will relay a disturbing story of Hunter, Joe, and the Chinese. It's quite something. Hold tight. And I'm hearing too from like a lot of circles. Remember when we brought up that text from InfoWars that was talking about the underage girls and shit? And we kind of laughed at, like, okay, that's a little far fetched. And we love Alex,
I
but
think that he was involved with underage girls with that computer because that's usually something that people search for a computer for if you ever bring it to a repair shop.
well, it sounds like there is some I don't know what it is or what it contains, but there is a lot of talk that there's some sort of underage girls content on this computer.
Mhm.
It sounds like it is
Yeah.
pretty
Well,
bad.
I mean, Rudy Giuliani, I think he gave I think he gave either the laptop or the hard drive to the Delaware State Police, who then turned it over to the FBI for like the
I thought
child
I thought the repair
sex
shop.
crime shit. What's up?
I thought the repair shop guy brought to the FBI originally, and they didn't give a shit for like 11 months. And so then he
Yeah.
That's
gave.
what I thought the story was.
Maybe, but maybe that too. But I think I'm thinking that the lawyer's probably handling that a lot better than this guy can. I mean, he did great. He did great making like there's the computer store owner. He did great like making multiple copies, like protecting himself. But I mean, like making sure people follow through from a criminal standpoint. I mean, look, you're probably not going to get better than an actual attorney when it comes to that sort of thing.
This is a RAM thing, but I want to mention it real quickly. PewDiePie is getting shadow banned by YouTube. His videos aren't showing up in search, and his videos are not being sent out to his subscribers. That's pretty big. They're censoring their biggest creator. And the New York Post is still censored on Twitter. Still blocked. Still can't tweet.
Yeah.
Still can't do anything.
Yeah.
Again, I know we've like fucking beaten this dead horse like till it's like fucking probably reincarnated and is dead again, and we're still beating it. Nothing is still gonna get done about tech censorship. I hope there's a breaking point, but man, it's only gonna get worse before it gets better.
It's definitely going to get worse. I've said that. I've said that for a couple months now. I'm like, look.
Oh yeah, we've been saying that.
It's going to get worse, and then everybody's bitching, and I said it's going to get worse, and then the bitching continues. I'm like, it's going to get worse, and then they ban more people. It's going to get worse. Like,
And that's the thing.
and I'm telling you, even today, it's going to get worse. Right? Yeah. Even after today, still going to get worse.
I keep hearing from some people. They're like, "Oh, well, Congress, they have to do something." I'm like, no.
No,
they
it's
don't.
going to get worse.
We're nowhere. I don't even think we're anywhere close to the level of bad it has to get to. We are not at rock bottom yet. It's like a fucking alcoholic. It's got to hit rock bottom before it can start getting better. We are not at rock bottom. Not at all. But yeah, I'm trying to find new stuff, new reactions, new hot takes, new things people are picking up. But apparently Posobiec said, I think Servich was saying the same thing too, when they were in the White House briefing room, or the White House press room off air once, the moderator, Kristen Welker, was screaming at Posobiec and like jabbing her finger at him. Like, I know she's totally partisan. She's probably a crazy like psycho, but
still better than fucking Chris Wallace.
But it's amazing that she is better than Chris Wallace. Like,
well,
holy shit.
There was some times where
you could feel the partisan coming out.
I felt like she didn't really have control of the debate, which I'm not sure I can knock her on that, because like, who the fuck is gonna control Donald Trump? Like, there's nobody. No one can control.
Not even
Donald
Melania.
Trump. Yeah, well, I mean,
I need a drop.
Okay.
Okay, there you go. But yeah, I don't think that anybody can like control Donald Trump once he has his once Trump has his eye set on something. You're not going to control him. You're not going to derail him. It's bad. It's just don't. And this debate was a clear example. Once he got going, he just kept going. The ball just kept rolling faster and faster, and it just it was just so. And the thing that made it awesome is like Trump made it just look so casual. It was just like so casual to him. And like it. You could tell. You could tell on one side you had Joe Biden, who just he constantly looked flustered and he looked
Mm-hmm.
agitated. It looked like he was out of it. He started doing that blinky thing where he's kind of like fading out.
Did you see the licking thing he did too now?
Yeah, he just like
That
you
was
could
so
tell
creepy.
the meds were gone. The meds were losing their effect, and then it was like, and like Trump, it's like Trump saw it and it was like blood in the water. It was
He's
like
like, yes.
he's sensing, oh, I got this fucker now. Like,
According to Posobiec, Trump backstage pointed out that Welker protected Joe from most of the laptop questions. Yeah, that's what I noticed too.
yeah,
But then added, quote, but she's no Wallace. Yeah.
no. I will
Yeah.
say, I will give her credit. She did bring up the laptop. I will say that.
She did ask him about it, and she asked him about the coronavirus relief
I
bill
will say,
and asked about fracking.
Yeah, I will say that. Like, she definitely brought tough thing, which I kind of felt like she kind of had to do it because all the nasty, like all the media, the entire media was looking like, oh, this is some partisan fucking hack, and she is, but like I think she had to kind of concede a little bit just to kind of just for optics sake, like.
Yeah. Safe
But
face.
she did look. It was good. I'll tell. She was the best one out of all of them, and that like she was even better than Steve Sully, and he didn't even do one. Like, I mean, it was. I will give her credit. I will give credit where credit's due. Right. We're calling balls and strikes. She did she did as good of a job as anybody could do. Like. I will say that.
Scott Adams tweets, CNN is trying to debunk the Hunter Biden stories without telling viewers what the stories are. It's mind-boggling. You notice that too? It's all this talk about, and they don't, well, there's not a lot to talk about, but when they do talk about it, they don't explain shit. They're like,
No,
oh,
they just
this is
they don't say
hoax.
anything. It's the same tired storyline. Oh, Russian disinformation, and like you tell, even Trump was like, "Oh, we're gonna do this again." Like, "Oh, we're gonna do this Russia thing
Yeah.
again." That was, I like that. That was a good line of his. Like, he went right in. Like, "Oh, geez, we're gonna do this again. We're gonna do this again." Like, it was fun. I mean, he was just funny. Trump was funny. He was witty.
And that's what I
The
was saying was
same
missing
guy.
from the first one was that humor, that joy, that like that positive energy. You know,
Well,
that's
he
what it
had
all
it.
has.
Like, he had it. There was just a lot of like he interrupted. His interrupting kind of handcuffed his own ability to do some of the stuff that he wanted to do. Like it almost felt like with the first debate, he was letting his emotions get the best of him. Like, in terms of the interrupting, like he wanted, like I felt like he was getting attacked and he just wanted to get back at him at any, like, whatever. And it was like, this was a little bit more calculated. It was a little bit more natural. It was like, it was Donald Trump. It
Yeah.
was just Donald Trump.
This felt more like the master at his, doing his work, doing his masterpiece. Beethoven conducting his Fifth Symphony. This wasn't like some, just shit thrown at the wall. Like, it just, like I said, he was just on point, firing all cylinders, and you can tell he knows he is like he's just having the time of his life, and he knows it.
So, quick question. When Joe called the Proud Boys the poor boys, was he joking or was he not?
I think it was a fuck up.
I thought so too. I think it might have been a fuck up that he tried to play off as a joke, kind of thing. I don't know. Like, again, like he was just not. It was not good. It was just not good. I think the lack of interrupting that, or like the threat of, I felt like the threat of getting the mic cut off actually may have worked against Biden.
Mm-hmm.
Like it might have actually worked in Trump's favor.
I thought the mics getting cut off would fuck this whole debate up, but it actually didn't. There were a few moments you could tell they were muting it and they were trying to talk and they couldn't, but that went over way better than I expected. I will admit. I did not expect it to be like this. I thought it was actually going to be a mess, but
well, she did let, okay, so part of that negation was Kirsten Walker was letting both of them
crossfire.
respond.
Yeah.
So that was a, like, it was more, the responses were more organized. So I don't know. It was just bad. It was just bad on Joe Biden.
It is bad. And like I was saying too, I wanted to bring up thing I kind of mentioned very briefly, is that with the polls too, again, voter suppression polls are trying to discourage deplorables from coming out to vote for Trump. But I have heard that the internal polls look awesome. They look fabulous. They look great. Things can change. Look, we still have 12, almost 11 days left. Things can change, but the internal polls are looking hot. And those are the polls that are real, that are the closest thing to reality, to predicting what's going to happen. I like I said, I feel very good. I felt happier, more motivated, more optimistic this week than any other week. This has been the best week on the campaign, the most activity I've seen, the most energy, the most joyfulness most joy I've seen on it. And I personally have had the best numbers. I'm not trying to say the brag, but I'm just saying that, like, to show that the energy level is translating to objective numbers. Yesterday, I had the highest numbers I've ever had for my team, and our region's been doing better. I've noticed that across the state, like, things are picking up, and people are getting energized. They have the sense of urgency, and that naturally happens. But it's so hard to describe, and I don't know if you're feeling it or if anybody else is, but I'm feeling the shift again. We felt that with the Rushmore speech, like a shift of now this is Trump's game. And after all that negative news he's had related to coronavirus, I'm feeling the shift big time since Monday. This is Trump's game. He's winning this shit. I no doubt in my mind he's winning this shit.
It looks good. It looks good for Trump.
Yeah,
it definitely does. I'll say that. I don't trust polls. I just don't. I can't. There's no, like, I was talking to somebody else about, like, the polls. It's like somebody else brought up the fucking polls. I'm like, look, polls are, and it's like, let me guess, polls are fake. What do you think? Like, no, I'm like, no. I was like, no,
they're bullshit.
Polls, look, any poll you take, it doesn't even have to be political, right? Any poll you take, the genuineness of a poll is dependent on the accuracy of the sample size, right? So of that particular poll. So if people are refusing to take the poll, or if people are lying about what they're inputting in the poll, then the genuineness of that poll is compromised. It doesn't really matter. Like, it doesn't really matter what else is put in. So we've seen this. We saw this the last election, and we're seeing it in this election. And I know me personally, I won't participate. I will actively not participate in these fucking polls. So I know if I don't, I know lots of other people won't either. And, so these polls are just naturally compromised. And, like, who the fuck is going to participate in a CNN poll? Like, just don't, like, obviously it's going to be majority liberal, because liberals are the only fuckers that watch that shitty station. So I'm like, well, I mean, like, and the only Republicans are those fucking Project Lincoln motherfuckers.
I hate those people.
Yeah, those are the only people that really are like, oh, I'm a Republican, and
I
you're like,
hate
no,
Trump.
yeah, you like, no, you're a rhino. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Actually, I'm looking up Kirsten Walker on Wikipedia. Surprisingly short Wikipedia page, but she is from Philly, my hometown, and she went to Harvard. But this is interesting. I hope this is still true. It doesn't mean anything in many ways, but I think it's still good. Walker is not registered with any political party. Obviously, she is left-leaning, but that is good, I would say. A good step. I think a lot of journalists should do is not be registered one way or the other, because it's definitely going to bias you. But, interesting.
I mean,
yeah.
I did see that Waka Flocka Flame.
Waka Flocka Flame
was another rapper. He's another rapper that said that basically said President Trump was a better president than Obama.
Yo, what is this? Why are all these rappers jumping on the Trump train?
I just think here's another thing that I'm thinking too, right? I think there's the expectation, right? So with Obama, like if you're a black person, right? The expectation that the first African American president would actually take care of African Americans is apparent. Like you would expect him to take care of African Americans. When he didn't, it was a rather letdown, right? This is a rather letdown. I mean, you know, you have people that are still kind of loyal to him or whatever, but there is, like, when you look at it from a substance perspective, he didn't, like, he underperformed for the African American community. And so, like, I think with Trump, I don't think people really like because of all the media, the negative media that people were looking at from him. Oh, he's a racist, which is bullshit. But like, oh, this guy, you know, he doesn't like black people, whatever. And then all of a sudden the substance starts coming, the historical black colleges, the record low unemployment, the opportunity zones, all the long list, the criminal justice, prison reform, like he's all of a sudden he's started, when you look at the substance as a whole, he really has done more than any president in my lifetime. And so there's like, people are starting to see that now. It's like, wait, this guy's he's actually done quite a bit. And then he rolled through this platinum plan, and it's like it looks really good. And so, like, people get it. Like, people are starting to get it. Like, the light's coming on. Am I missing something here?
No, you nailed it. I mean, it's honestly, I think, and I hope these rappers are turning to Trump just based on his accomplishments. I don't know if there's any ulterior motives, or there's something else, or an irrational reason. Or maybe they've always been pro-Trump, and then they kind of just like acted like they weren't, and now they think it's okay to come out about it, because all these rappers talked about how they want to be Donald Trump in their rap songs. Like, it was always a meme or a trope that Trump has always been the symbol of American success, the American dream, and that's why he was always used as a metaphor for that. And I hope, like I said, they're changing their tune because of his accomplishments, and I hope that translates nationally. And I want to talk about a funny story right after this, but maybe, I want Alex to come on for this one because I know he'll have field day with it. But I will say, I think we're going to see, again, record shifts for support among African Americans and Latinos. I think he's gonna gain every group. Look.
I was saying that from the start. He's going to gain from every demographic. He's going to gain. He's
Yeah.
going to gain voters from
The only one
2016.
he may not, and I know this might sound a little weird, it might be women he might not gain anything from. Oh, wait, no, actually, I scratched that. Never mind. No, I think he would gain from women.
I think he's going to gain there too.
Yeah. And I've always kind of thought that, but what I've always thought is that it's not going to be like, and this is where I think some people get a little stupid, is like, he'll gain, let's say on election night, he gains like, 5% of African Americans. They'll be like, well, you thought he was going to have big gains with the African Americans, but Biden still had over 90%. It's like, that's not the point. The point is, when you're a Republican, all you have to do is move the needle a couple percentage points. You don't even have to get into double digits to have a landslide, to change the map. And that's what I've always thought was going to happen. And I think I'm going to say definitively I'm going to stick with that.
Yeah. I think that if he loses in any demographic, and I'm not sure it's much of a demographic, but like, I think he might get less of the independent vote. I think he might get a little less of the independent vote.
Well, also apparently there are less independents this time.
Well, I think part of that is because a lot of the vote has become more balkanized, like meaning, like they've started to register as either Republican or Democrat. Like now, I think there's a lot of independent vote that like made themselves independent, and I think they've started to balkanize on both sides. So I'm not sure that that's more just independents not voting for Trump as much as it is like they're going to political party lines. So I don't know if that's legitimate. I think as long as I just think he's going to gain in every demographic, like every demographic from a pigmentation standpoint, and then like I think what are they gonna do? Like, what's Biden gonna have to do? Because he's gonna have to do more than I felt like he's gonna have to do more than Hillary Clinton did in 2016, like to beat Trump. And I don't think he's really done more than Hillary Clinton did in 2016. As bad as Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton was bad in 2016. I don't think he's done more than Hillary Clinton in 2016. I don't see it. Because, I mean, they're like, oh, well, all these other people are campaigning for Biden. I'm like, they did that for Hillary.
That we're getting.
Obama did that for Hillary.
He probably did that since, like, who's it? John Kerry. Like, I remember, the fucking singers and shit. Like, it's always
am I getting this wrong? Am I getting this wrong? Are you seeing something different than I am? Or, like it doesn't feel like it. It just doesn't feel like it. And the fact that he's hanging out in his basement is just making this way worse. It's making it way worse. Like at least she was like, at least Hillary Clinton was getting crowds. I mean, they're still not, they still weren't anywhere close to the fucking Trump rallies, but like at least she was getting some crowds. She was getting some crowds, and Obama was getting some crowds. But it's like, the crowds they're getting now are fucking abysmal. They're killing themselves. Like,
hey, Obama had a really good drive-through the other day with about
all 10 cars.
10 cars. Hey, those cars had families in them. So if you multiply, it's like, could be 40 people.
It still wouldn't be the first row of a Trump rally.
Well, here's the thing. I'm kind of wondering if the reason, like, this is some conspiracy theory stuff, the reason that Biden's hiding is because he knows if he gets coronavirus, the DNC will make sure that he does not survive. so that they could have Kamala Harris take over.
I don't think he survived. I don't think he survives anyway. Like you know, if he gets coronavirus, he's fucking dead. Like that old brittle fuck is gone. Like he gets coronavirus, he's gone.
My fucking great grandfather is 98 and he survived.
Yeah, but
especially with someone with money, like that he could probably survive if he had the money, he probably could. But the thing is, this would be like a double win for the DNC because they'd get rid of Biden and then they could go and blame Trump for it. So I think he realizes this and he doesn't want to die, so he's hiding in his basement.
I mean, that's an interesting conspiracy theory.
Did you see Trump posted the full unedited 60 Minutes interview that he supposedly walked out on?
I didn't see
Apparently CBS is giving him shit or some sort of legal shit.
Well, it looks like it was his own video, I think, that they took.
Yeah, but they needed, I think he needed, apparently he needed CBS's permission or something like that.
Fuck them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, I mean, of course. I mean, all of us are like, fuck CBS, but like, I mean, yeah, I mean, I like it.
Bad. It makes CBS look bad.
It makes them look terrible.
Well, if they can go and pull out like Trump's like hot mic shit on Trump, like I know it's not. I don't think CBS did that, but if that can happen and Trump can't do anything about that, then I don't see why he can't pull out an unedited tape that he has a copy of. Like, was it illegal? I don't care. Maybe it violates some sort of contract. Was it unethical? No.
Yeah.
It won't go anywhere.
I don't know.
I don't think it will, especially if Trump wins. If Trump wins, so they try suing him. If I was Trump on my final term, oh man, they would regret that shit.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, good Lord. This is why I'm hoping so much, and I really do think Trump won, but like, man, like fucking, if I was Trump in my last term, first day of my last term coming there, I'd see like CNN, I'd be like, oh man. I'm gonna find some regulations, like a fucking department of fake news, and we're gonna go and investigate that.
That's what I'm gonna love, is if he's, depending on this congressional situation, there's gonna come a point where he can just, I don't want to say go full dictator and do whatever the fuck he wants, but he can get real close to the point of where he can do things without worrying about his re-election chances. Obviously, some people say, well, a full, second term will be that way. Well, not necessarily, because you gotta keep your Congress intact. But in those last 2 years, though, it could just be wild and beautiful. I want to talk about something I know you're probably gonna laugh about, Alex. Is CNN, as we all know, has a very diverse talent. They are very, very, let's just say, they're full of their own shit. And recently, a news article broke that CNN's Jeffrey Toobin, who's also a contributor, some with the New Yorker, he was on a Zoom call, and he claims he didn't realize his video was on.
I know where this is going. I didn't watch his penis.
I hope you didn't watch it, because I read the headlines and they said he exposed himself. But I read a bit further, and he wasn't just exposing himself. He was masturbating.
He was masturbating. That's like a...
on a fucking Zoom call.
There you go. Right.
What was he doing?
Either he didn't get, like, he either just gave such a little shit about whatever he was on, so he's like, fuck it, and he just started jacking off. Or, maybe he wants to show people his penis, because it was like a big dick move, It's like, oh, hey, I want to go and see my cock. It's like something that Lyndon, like,
probably,
John.
You mean it's like a Louis
probably
C.K.
got this
move?
huge.
Well, no, like,
he's probably got this huge ego.
Like that too.
He's got this huge ego. He's like, yeah, you want this tubing dick. Here you go.
I'll stick a tubing up your ass.
Feast on it, ladies. Here it is. Or men. I don't know where he's at.
Oh,
I
hey,
don't
he's
know where
probably
at in his
open to
life.
anything.
Yeah, you know, whatever. Holes are holes.
Hey, if it was a Zoom, I want to know who was on that Zoom call. Like, how many people were on that fucking Zoom call, and they're just sitting there, like, seeing that? Like, did anybody bring it up? Were they like, yo, mute yourself? Yo, mute your video?
I know I've had a friend accidentally do that on Xbox Live before, just start jacking off, but it wasn't video.
Yeah, well, that's what makes this worse. It's so bad. And the funny thing is, CNN still hasn't booted him, to my knowledge. Only the New Yorker suspended him. I don't think CNN did anything.
Oh, they probably love it. You know what?
Because
Like,
they all probably do it.
I hope to God Trump like used that to his advantage. Like he made a fucking tweet about that. Fucking fake news CNN exposed masturbating on television or on a Zoom call when he's supposed to be doing their work.
No.
These are the degenerates that talk bad about me.
All he has to do is tweet the video and say, CNN exposed.
Man, if I was Trump, I'd be on that like flies on shit, you know.
I'm gonna see if he made a tweet, but there was one from the New York Post opinion Twitter. It said, "Limp excuses shouldn't save Jeffrey Tubin." Oh god, the puns are gonna be very liberal. Oh my god. Fake news stands with disgraced masturbator Jeffrey Tubin after he exposed himself to professional colleagues. Dude, he was on a work video call. Jesus Christ.
Like, see if I, like, you know, if you're me masturbating on a Zoom call, you can at least buy one of those, like, little fucking pieces of, like, they have those little things you can put over your webcam.
Dude,
when
just
you're,
take a piece of fucking tape.
Yeah.
Fucking tape.
I wonder how long he was doing that before someone spoke up.
That's what I was saying. I'm like, what'd they do?
So
Did they go, yo, mute your
hope,
shit?
I hope someone has a video for that. I would love to go and see, like, how that played out.
Oh, I'd love for somebody to leak that, like on Live Leaks or something like that.
Oh my god, dude, that would be so bad that like, the world would see his, like, probably tiny penis.
Oh my god. I need to Google to see if Trump said anything. Jeff.
Like, see, it couldn't even be something cool like him doing like a blowjob on a Zoom call or like him having sex. It's like him masturbating. Like that's like an Eichenwald sort of thing. It's like a fucking Eichenwald. Like I could see him doing that.
Yeah, that's an Eichenwald thing, all right. Apparently he was at like a strip club with Roger Stone too.
Who?
Tubin. I saw a headline. Let me find it.
Yeah, I mean, this guy obviously has a sex addiction if he's going to strip clubs with, like, people, going to strip clubs like with famous people and then, like, masturbating on a Zoom call.
Well, here's the headlines. This is from The Sun. It says, quote, Zoom masturbator Jeffrey Tubin, quote, offered to pay for lover's abortion and went to swingers club with Roger Stone.
Oh, Roger Stone. Man, that guy's so... I love fucking Roger Stone.
Roger Stone's awesome. Oh my god. Let's see. New York Post. Yes, Jeffrey Tubin still has supporters, but no real legal grounds. Oh god.
Is he trying to sue someone now for like talking about his penis?
I don't know. Oh, god. Jeffrey Tubin suspended from New Yorker on leave from CNN. Okay, he's on leave, guys. O.J. Simpson reacts to allegations against People versus O.J. Simpson offer Jeffrey Tubin. Oh god, man, this should be so easy. How can anyone defend Jeffrey Tubin? What price should Tubin pay for alleged indecent Zoom exposure? Jeffrey Tubin and the M word. Let's be honest about what makes this scandal so scandalous.
Oh god, so now he's using the N-bomb too.
The M.
Oh, I said the N-word or something.
Yeah, I bet you could find that on too.
Jeez, this guy's like, they're really not hiring the best and the brightest at CNN.
They're not sending their best. Let me see what, like, I want to know if there's The Fabo is real? What? Let's see, Jeffrey Tubin. Oh man, look at this guy. He went to Harvard, New Yorker. Oh, he's got kids. Oh my god. He's got 3 fucking kids. Could you imagine like reading a news article about your dad masturbating on a Zoom call at work?
Imagine
Well,
going to
and then
school.
like the other one with him in his like swing club, and like they realize that his dad's a fucking sex
It's a good.
maniac.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing that they probably go to private schools. Otherwise, if they went to public school, that picture would probably be blown up, and there'll be a whole bunch of pictures on their fucking lockers and shit.
Oh man, dude, read this says on Wikipedia. It says on October 19, 2020, Tubin was suspended from the New Yorker after he exposed himself and masturbated during an election scenario exercise conducted via Zoom video call between New Yorker and WNYC radio staffers. CNN said Tubin has asked for some time off while he deals with a personal issue, which we've granted. Tubin, who contends the incident was unintentional, issued a statement, quote, "I made an embarrassingly stupid mistake believing I was off camera, as if that makes it any better. I apologize to my wife, family, friends, and co-workers." Amazing. This is what we're up against, guys. We can win. Just remember that. Absolutely amazing. Other thing I was going to mention, it's slipping my mind. What was it? Something else that's happened this week. AOC Twitch stream of Among Us drew 500,000 viewers. I think that's a good move. More people should do that. Get in with the gamers.
She's a gamer girl now.
Yeah, she's officially an
Well,
e-girl.
What's she gonna do next? Open up an OnlyFans?
That'd be funny.
God, the fucking. I wonder if that would be the first politician with an OnlyFans. So I can see someone else fucking pulling that off too. But that'd be great.
I remember I was talking this with my girlfriend when we were talking about like when the Groyper stuff was happening and like our New York we were creating. I was like, like one thing like I noticed about some of these people is they're so distant. Like Charlie Kirk. Like one thing he could do that would actually make him kind of cool is like, what if he like played like Call of Duty with people and was like shooting the shit? Like that'd be a cool idea. That's something I would want to do, And look, say what you will about AOC, this is a smart move. Even though who she did it with, do not like, which is that Pokimane bitch. Yeah, I don't like Pokimane, or whatever her name is, but.
Like she played with Pokemon.
Yeah.
Oh god, that's funny.
I know.
First time I got fucking Leafy.
Pokey and Toast. She played with. Like I said, it's still it's a smart thing to do. It's like Among Us is a culturally relevant game right now. It's a fun thing to do. It's relatable. Just like, politicians, if they want to like they gotta get out of this like bubble that they're in. Like this sort of stuff is like Zoomer millennial stuff that connects with us younger folks. But meanwhile, you have Biden talking about malarkey.
Yeah, like I think Biden's probably the like quintessential boomer candidate.
Yeah, he's the boomers to boomers.
Like just everything about him. Like I don't think he has his own like real like what's his real policies? Like it's all about like, oh, I want to go and talk to people and put them on the round table and all this other stupid like boomer shit that no one cares about, no one does. Like he's a politician of a bygone era, and it's so interesting because like Obama, like the contrast between him and Obama, and I don't like either of them, but like at least you could say Obama, like
he at least tried to be hip.
He wasn't like he wasn't a fucking boomer, I mean he might be like age wise a boomer, but he didn't act like like he was one of the first politicians to go and use like Twitter and stuff.
Yeah, he was the
then,
first presidential candidate.
Trump, like he's technically a boomer, and he uses technology like fucking Twitter. Like that's the number one thing about Trump. You can't say he doesn't use Twitter. He doesn't use social media because he fucking does, and that's why he won.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it. Like he has like memes. Like Biden doesn't understand that. He wants to go and like talk to people, and like, I mean, but he doesn't want to talk to people. Doesn't want to have his campaign actually reach out to people. Like he's running this like this was in like the 40s or 50s or 60s, you know, and it's the current year, you know. He's just a fuck. Like, and I saw, what was it? I saw that, like, I was watching this like one YouTube channel, and he was like basically bitching about Biden. It's like he has like no political ideology. I forget what channel it was. It was just like really weird YouTube channel. I kind of like the guy.
Yeah.
He like hates centrists, but he was just like talking about he like Biden's literally like the, you know, no fucking political ideology to him. He just kind of says
Whatever is relevant or he thinks
what
is
people.
cool. Yeah, and you see that in the debates. Like, he kind of looks around like, oh, all the other Democrats are raising their hands to give illegal immigrants free healthcare. Yeah, I will too. That's what's cool right now, right, kids? One thing I remember the thing I was going to mention. I was talking to a volunteer today. This circles back to something we were talking about before. And we were talking about the outsiders versus insiders concept and these establishment people. And she goes, yeah, like, I remember this painter I had, you know, I found out that he was offered to, you know, oh no, she started off with like, you know, in this town she's in, Elizabethtown, she's like, yeah, like, dude, like, the people in the tippy top control everything. The Masons control this town.
Yep.
And I was like, what? I started laughing. I was like, wow, like, tell me more. And she's like, yeah, I knew this painter. And he knew somebody, I don't know if it was a client or somebody, that offered him to join the Masons. And he joined them. And when he did, he went from making 15, 20,000, whatever it was, type jobs to 60,000. She said that they have like a list of people that are Masons to trust and all that jazz that only Masons deal with and, you know, work with. It's a very interconnected community that just, I don't want to call them a community, they're fucking like cult.
It's a frat.
It's a frat.
Like a fucking frat.
Yeah, that's what she called them too. And she said, like, they literally, like, they'll give you, like, deals or leads or people to work with. It's like it's a status thing. It's like, I'm trying to find a good analogy for it, but like a video game analogy almost. But, you know, it literally was like that, where, like, if you're not in the in-group here, the clique here, if you're not one of us, well, you're not going to get the top jobs. You're not going to get the high-paying jobs. You're going to get the shit.
It's like the college Republicans if you're not in their clique.
Pretty much. That's what I was thinking of, too. It's like some CR. I mentioned earlier the CR shit.
Well, I do know that there was some Masonic involvement with at least one of them.
I mentioned that to her, too.
But like what was it? My grandfather, like he was I think he knew someone who was like went back when he was younger and stuff, and like I think the Masons were like high up in the Union or something too. It's like literally like in a lot of places you see them, and I think there's probably more than just the Masons. They're probably not the only group that does that, but they're probably one of the largest ones in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Chris Wallace was on the Fox News coverage of the debate.
Oh,
I'm
God.
surprised he was going to show his face at all. Holy shit.
Speaking of, a poll that was shown on Fox was conducted by NewsNationNow.com. 74% said that Trump won the debate.
Yep.
Yeah, most of the polls that I've seen on Twitter have Trump winning by a very extensive margin.
Yeah.
Very, very. A lot of them I saw were like 75 to 25 or something like that. It was just bad. Biden did so bad. It was just bad. It was just bad.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was like, and it's like, oh well, did Trump do good or did Biden do bad? I'm like, both. Biden did terrible and Trump did really well. Like,
yeah. Yeah, it was pretty interesting how now these final 10 days pretty much are gonna go. It's gonna be wild. Oh, and Trump
Joe Biden kissed his wife through the mask.
I saw that, dude. I saw that. That was
Fucking
the
cringe.
cringe.
You're fired. You're
Well, see,
fired.
not only is that completely like useless, it's actually probably
Dangerous.
unhealthy because
Yeah.
like she's got all that other like bad shit on the back of it. Like, it's not only defeating the purpose of a mask; it's unhealthy significantly.
Yeah.
Did you see her mask too? Was like this. It was matching her dress. It had the same flower pattern.
Hmm.
I'm trying to look
No.
cute. Yeah, I found it. Yeah, look at this. Oh God, she tweets out, "Proud of you, Joe." Hearts.
Oh
God.
Jesus.
It's just so like, God, it's cringe. Their relationship is so weird. Like, if he feels like such a bitch, you know, she probably drags him everywhere. Tucks him in bed at night, gives him cookies, and like pats him on the head.
Yep.
Like, it's so pathetic.
Yeah, it's probably just like a, I don't know. I don't even think it's legit. I think it's like a marriage of convenience or something. Like the Clintons. I don't think they love each other.
Mm.
It's just convenience.
So
I don't think
weird.
it's as bad as the Clintons. I don't know.
Yeah,
I-
nothing tops the Clintons, dude. Those people were throwing fucking furniture, when Trump won. Apparently Hillary got drunk. I don't know how true that is, but apparently she got drunk. She was so pissed. Could you imagine a drunk Hillary? God. I want to get out of that room. Probably like fucking try to like stab me. You're an evil
It's gonna be-
Republican.
I think it's going to be interesting looking tomorrow at what the fact checks are going to be because I'm pretty sure Joe bullshitted most of that fucking debate.
Oh, he bullshit. The bullshit all the way.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I think like Joe Biden's a Doug Percy probably took like a week, and like for 8 hours a day, he was like practicing the debate, and that's like probably one of the reasons why like for the first 30 seconds he does good, but then and then he probably also got fed the questions too,
Mm.
and
Oh.
then like you
Mhm.
probably an insider leak it to him, so, at least some of them, but I think she went off script for a few of it. But I think Trump, he probably like looked at it like maybe he probably had like an after action after the last one that was probably most of it, and kind of looked at a few basic stuff, maybe did an hour or two of prep, and you can kind of see it. Like Biden just comes off as such a fucking like robot, like Alzheimer's person. Then like Trump, he's just this Chad like stomping on his like old man ass.
Hmm. That's why I love that alpha energy. I love it, love it. That's why he won partially.
So Governor Cuomo
Oh God.
is on the Stephen Colbert, like the late night with Stephen Colbert.
Oh
I
God.
think that's the late show. Yeah.
Blech.
What a piece of shit. Like, yo, your state's a disaster. It's a fucking wreck. Deaths up the wazoo. Your economy's in the shitter. Fifth Avenue is a fucking abysmal. And you're promoting a fucking book? Like, what the fuck?
Oh, he wrote
Yeah.
a book.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah, he
God.
wrote a book.
Or should I
Cool.
say his people wrote him a book with his name
They
on
even
it.
bragged about it. It was like number 7 on fucking bestsellers or something.
See, that's just fucked up.
bullshit.
You're selling a book right now, like, dude. They probably had him like right when he was getting like headlines during COVID back in March. They're probably like, let's fire up a book. Let's get a book going. And here it's ready. That's just messed up. Also,
So bad.
again, like remember when the first debate happened, Proud Boys trending on Twitter. Now Poor Boys is trending.
Mhm.
Amazing.
My God.
Isn't it
He-
amazing how
he
the
can't-
Proud Boys even like they just keep getting like dug up? You'd think they'd become irrelevant or like people would forget about 'em. They just keep coming back.
You fucked it up too. Like, come on, Biden. Yet at least if you're gonna make up some bullshit, like at least get their names right. Like pulling out Abraham Lincoln's fucking name and now the Poor Boys. Like I like that name. They should change it to the fucking Poor Boys.
They did on their parlor. They created
Dana
like a
Lash
graphic
tweeted-
with it.
Dana Lash tweeted is "Poor Boy's a sandwich," which
It is.
it's po' boy, and now I fucking want one.
I'm
I
actually
want this.
hungry.
I went to this fucking Mexican place, man.
That's
Love that shit.
racist.
Oh man, like usually it's
Yeah.
really good there, but like the dude who usually runs it, I think his name's like Don Jose or something. Like he wasn't there, so they had his like I guess it's his daughter, and she was on her phone the whole fucking time. Like, dude, that's I don't like that.
Oh, that reminded me of a story today. I'm gonna tell real quickly. I had to go pick up pizza for the office because it was right down the street, like walking distance. And I walk in to pick it up for our executive director. And so I was paying with his card, and he knows like it came up like RNC. And he's like, "Oh yeah," the owner there of the pizza place, like, "How are things looking? I see you're with the RNC." I got into a conversation with him, and he was telling me like that when he was in 2016, no, sorry, he did watch the election there in 2016, but he'd been playing the news like in his shop, and he's got like 6 TVs set up. And he said that one of these days, I forget when it was, but it was like recently, like within the Trump presidency, he said that one guy was watching Fox on one TV and one guy was watching CNN on the other TV. And this lady comes in, and it was fine. There was no problem. But this like fucking lady comes in, and she goes, "Is that Fox on there?" He's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Well, I don't want to watch Fox." "Okay. Well, what do you want to watch?" "I want to watch MSNBC." "Okay. We can turn on the other TV if you want." "No, I don't want to watch Fox." And he's like, "Well, so?" She's like, "Well, you got to turn that off." He's like, "No." And she goes, "Well, then I'm not eating here," and leaves. Like,
What a bitch.
like what the fuck?
Like what a Karen. Like that's a fucking Karen move.
It's such a stupid Karen move, too, because it's like, he has like 6 TVs. He's like, "Yeah, you can watch MSNBC. We'll put on our TV." She's like, "No, I don't want Fox on." And it's like, well, he does. I think she asked, like, she said, "What's he watching?" or something. He goes, "Oh, it's Fox News." And she goes, "Well, or no, I forget what she said also. She said something like, "I can't have that on." He goes, "It's Fox News." And the store owner just goes like, "So?" And she just like starts flipping out and then leaves. It's just like, people are insane.
Yeah, they I was just looking at the Outkicks coverage of the debate. Actually Clay
interviewed
Travis
Trump.
did a
They interviewed Trump.
Yeah. They actually did really good analysis of the first debate. It was really impressive. First, sports reporters to make it like, I was impressed. I was impressed. Anyway, Clay Travis said, Trump massacred him. Like he massacred the debate. Like, and of course, like him and now I'm seeing a couple other people. They're mentioning the look seen around the world of Joe, like 9 minutes to go. Joe Biden is looking at his watch. Like,
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
yeah, that's like the
That's
look.
the Bush
That is the
move.
look. That's the move right there. That will probably go down in infamy. Right. That'll be the.
It's like the
Oh
Bush
Jesus, it's
one.
over yet. I gotta go to bed here. This is
It's past my
this ain't
bedtime.
working. I'm getting my ass kicked. There's like, yeah, we gotta go.
Chris Wall says he's, quote, jealous and wish he could moderate that debate. No, fuck you,
Yeah,
Chris.
no, I'm not jealous at all. I'm glad he didn't moderate that fucking debate.
Yeah.
In fact, he should probably never debate again, like ever.
Mm.
Ever. Just stay away from debates for the rest of your life.
I wonder if Kristen Welker, was fair this debate only so she would get praise for it and she could move up the echelons to contrast to the previous ones.
Well, that's journalistic competition, but like I'm saying, look, you let an NBC, look, you're Chris Wallace, and you're the son of a legend,
Mm.
and you let an NBC reporter wipe the fucking floor with you.
Yeah.
Like, don't do the fucking debates ever again. Don't do it, right? Because you're too old. You're not going to change. You're not going to change, right? Just no. Don't ever do it again.
Yeah. Remember how bad Savannah Guthrie was in that town hall? Did you see that?
Yeah, it was bad.
Dude, she was
was bad.
just a bitch, like constantly. Well, this, that, and Trump just like handled her. I'm glad he did that too. That to me prepped him for this debate.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think he was always like I think Trump was always ready, but he kind of he like in the first debate he really was his own worst enemy. Like I mean, I think he still did well in that debate, but like nowhere close to this. Like nowhere close to this debate. Like he just.
I think the first debate, I'll say this, I don't think he won that first debate.
Yeah, I think he did okay. I don't think it like, yeah, this is night and day. I mean, and I say that because I don't think Biden did enough to really win it. Like that's the perspective, and yes, that's the perspective that I'm coming from. I'm not saying that Trump like did better than Biden. I don't think Biden really did anything to really win it. Like I just like it's just that neither did Trump. Really didn't push over the top either for the first debate, but he brought the game to tonight. Like he brought it, and it's I think everybody's in good mood. Like they're talking like, look, if Stephen Colbert, he's talking to fucking Governor Cuomo instead of the actual debate. You know, it did not go good. Like it should be an all night thing. Like you should be talking about this thing all fucking night. Like if this was, you should be doing, like if you're on the late night talk shows and Joe Biden did well, you should be doing a fucking victory lap, right? And what happened? Ooh, you're talking about other shit. I don't know. Because if Biden spanked Trump, we would never hear the fucking end of it. It'd be on every news station. It'd be played over and over and over again to fucking nauseum.
I am surprised though that nobody's really, at least not yet, jumping on the comment Trump made when he was talking about these illegals that come over and they skip their trials, which overwhelming majority do, and he was talking about the ones that do show up to trial, and he said that they were low IQ.
It's pretty funny.
It was funny, but I'm surprised they haven't like taken that and spun it the wrong, like to make him look racist and all this crap yet.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's like to the extent, like to a certain extent, like I can understand what he's saying. Like if you know you're gonna get deported, like why would you show up to the fucking thing? Like it's a waste. Like I mean, you should, but like honestly, if you're just gonna do catch and release, like, and you know you're here illegally, and you know there's no way around it, like, what are you doing?
Kristen Welker also started as an intern on the Today Show. Now she's a host on Today. Now she's monitoring a presidential debate. Talk about working your way up the ladder. My God. I'd go nuts if I had to work for NBC that long.
Well, you know, if it's something that she cared about and pays the bills.
Why it pays the bills, all right. Anybody that's on TV makes a shit ton of money.
I don't know. I mean, who is that one guy who used to be in that Trump club before it became the Trump club? Well, back when it was, but back before your time, the one kid,
the guy that won The Price is Right.
Yeah, that guy. He's a New York weatherman, I think, and he doesn't make all that much.
Well, is he on like a small local station?
Something like that. But here's the
That's
thing,
why.
too. Last I talked to him, like because he worked over there, the Price is Right's trying to like not pay him
What was
for
that? Sorry.
the Price is Right. Apparently, still hasn't like paid him his winning.
Really?
Yeah, like last I met, this was back when I still had Facebook, but
Dude,
yeah,
that's crazy.
like they keep trying to find loopholes.
Dude, that's bad.
Yeah, what a fucking scum company.
You notice too, also, they're also saying Kristen Welk is the first black woman to moderate the debate. If you look at her heritage, she's half black and half Native American. But Trump complimented her. Trump complimented the first black debate moderator. But they're still going to call him racist. And they're all jumping on him for saying that he said he's the least racist person in the room, even though she was there.
He actually did. Yeah, and that was another thing that I thought Trump did. It like he tried to be, he tried to be friendly. He's like he tried to compliment Kristen on her, on her job, and she did. I mean, hey, you give credit where credit's due. Like,
Yeah.
She did pretty well compared to Chris Wallace, but I mean that's not saying much. That's not saying much. That's like
see, if this to me
Special Olympics type
That's
shit.
like saying, oh well, Hitler killed less people than Stalin.
Oh, did you see Biden invoked Hitler?
Was that in the beginning, so I may have missed that.
No, that was near the end. He was like, well, we were one, because Trump was saying,
oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Biden was like, well, we were once friendly with Hitler. I'm like, oh, I have to bring it up.
Once. You have to bring up the Hitler references.
So I have to ask, like, so with the Joe Biden picture, the Proud of You Joe, does it look like that they're walking away like defeated?
Yeah,
it kind of looks like it.
Yeah, their heads down.
Heads down. It's like, oh, we know we lost.
Well, that's what they get. They keep shitting on Alex Jones, but if he had some of that brain force plus, I'm sure he would have done a lot better.
He probably had some of it. Wore off.
Probably got like the fucking knockoff one from like the left wing.
Yeah, the Chinese knockoff.
No, he's like, and the fucked up part is he had all week to prepare. It wasn't like he was campaigning or nothing.
Oh, he
had all week
to prepare, but like after the 30 seconds, that's when the preparation goes out the box.
That's all you got. That's all you guys. 30 seconds. It's like abort mission. Abort mission. Ship's going down.
Dude, it's like, I mean, I was surprised how quickly Biden started falling apart too. I expect him to fall apart like in the last debate, but he just did so quickly. It was like even in the beginning, he just after maybe the first like 30 minutes, he was like fucking up left and right.
Yeah, well, that's it's a Biden experience. Like I really wish it was one fucking Joe Rogan experience. Man, that would have been some shit.
That would have been lit.
I think for Saturday, I want to watch. I want to watch that. I want to watch a replay of it again, just to make sure that I got I get the complete context of what they were saying. I mean, I got a good, but I want to kind of try to see if I can debunk a lot of what he said, like what Joe Biden said, because it's just not. I don't know. What's up?
We need to make some fucking memes out of this. Like someone needs to do it with the fucking Abraham Lincoln shit.
Oh, they'll get on it. The meme army, the shit posters out there will get on it.
Dude, like think about that. Like just like Joe Biden, he hates Abraham Lincoln.
Yes.
He hates black people. He calls them super predators. Don't vote for Joe Biden, the most racist man, the most racist politician since who was that?
LBJ.
Who's the one who was? Who's the one? The Klan.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. No. You can spin another way. Joe Biden calls a former Ku Klux Klan Grand Wizard, Robert Byrd, his mentor and friend. Joe Biden hates Abraham Lincoln. Joe Biden calls black people super predators. It couldn't be more
He
clear that
throws
Joe
kids in
Biden
cages.
is the most racist presidential candidate in American history.
Joe Biden throws Hispanic kids in cages.
He did.
Holy shit.
Joe
See, this is,
Biden.
you need to make that ad. You need to make that fucking ad.
Joe Biden also said that poor kids were just as smart as white kids.
And then also, he called poor boys racist, implying that he doesn't like black people, that he thinks black people are racist. Oh my
man,
god!
you
Like,
could have
he
a
just
field day.
still needs to do that.
Man, I think it's funny too, like how you can kind of like, I don't want to say spin it, but frame it with Biden. Like you can make him look really fucking bad if you frame it right.
Well, didn't he go and say, like, back with like the school busing and stuff? He was like, it's gonna make it into like jungle school zones or something.
Yeah,
He
he
said,
did.
he said something like really fucking terrible. And like,
Yeah.
here's the thing: I'm not a fan of fucking busing, but like, you don't say it's gonna be like an interracial jungle, you know? And then come back and then call Trump the racist. Like,
He said desegregation would create a racial jungle.
oof.
That's so bad.
He's like talking about how he lives in Scranton. Like, dude, shut the fuck up. You're like Dwight Schrute, you know?
I'm glad Trump brought that up too, that like Biden spent like few months in Scranton and like left.
Well, yeah. By that logic, I guess his son must be Ukrainian
Yes.
from all his and like Chinese too.
Dude, his son. Oh my god.
I bet he's probably living as fucking son right now.
He
I'm
reminds
lucky
me of a certain someone we know from Penn State.
Yeah, and I know who you're talking about. Like, can you just imagine? Like, just imagine being like a fly on the wall in like the Biden family house. Like when Hunter comes around, it's like, "Oh, you motherfucker, you cost me." I feel like a couple months from now, like you cost me the fucking presidency because of your fucking meth habits and your fucking malarkey over here.
He's probably like
Malarkey.
says like, look at what you fucked up now. You know, he probably gives him that sort of attitude.
My God, you just go do all. So just go like make a commercial where like there's no content. It's just like Biden saying like he's like fucking stuttering and shit, and just play that for 30 seconds. Do you want this man to run for president? This man's for president. Like that'd be probably pretty fucking fucked up. But man, that'd be funny.
Don Jr. tweeted out, Joe Biden called young African Americans super predators. He said he didn't want his kids going to schools in a racial jungle regarding school integration, and he tried to cancel busing programs, and he was buddies with every segregationist to ever walk the halls of Congress. Oh my God. Spicy. I like how he said that wasn't true. He's like about the super predators thing. He's like, that's not true. Well, yeah, well, what is the truth, Joe?
Yeah, the only claim that he has to be not racist is because he has black friends. Like that's literally his only thing. Oh, I was friends with Obama. He's only half black.
Yeah, literally.
Like I bet the DNC's like, why the fuck did we pick this dude?
Dude, they're probably
Dude, all these people
they're
over
scared.
here. Well, like they had all those people who would have been much better. Like, he couldn't. They like at least those people they could go and call Trump racist, and like I mean he's not racist, but like he's not gonna be able to go and say, well, like just pull up
You're
a little
racist.
like huge amounts of racist shit that Biden's done. Like literally anybody else would not have the same level of shit.
Yeah, I agree.
But that didn't happen.
Joe Rogan had Matthew McConaughey on. Yeah.
He used to have fucking Donald Trump. Like Trump needs to go on there, like at some point just to go and like go on there.
I agree.
Oh yeah. But But yeah, no, that I think that was pretty good. You
Yeah.
know, I like that debate. I wish that all the other debates were as like impartial as that one, or like at least like I think she honestly, I guess maybe just by not fucking up super, you know, the bar was set pretty low after, you know, Chris Wallace, but you know, he did a good job.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I think. Like, she definitely had bias in there. There were questions that were biased. There were probably more interruptions of Trump than Biden, but she was far better than the past ones.
Yeah, can you imagine if he like how it would have went if Trump had like a truly neutral or like even someone who is slightly right leaning?
Oh my God.
Like it would have like see that's the only that's the reason like Trump would have fucking just really I mean he already wiped the floor pretty well with this one, but like holy shit. Like man.
Yeah. Well, I know Phil says he's going to be right back, but I'm going to cut this because I'm getting pretty tired. I don't know about you. I mean, I'll still shoot
Man,
the
I
shit with you a little bit longer, but
I'm at fucking work, man. I'm you know,
you're
I'll be up.
working.
Yep.
That's good. Oh man, I'm working all the time too.
Well, I'm not working all the time, I just work at midnight.
You should, you know, my job actually, I'm really passionate about right now, but that's only because we're in the final stretch here.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so then yeah, once you're done that, you have some that'll be some fun, man. You have a story to go and tell your kids in the future. You know, like that like see I fought for the Trump.
I
And
fought
I'm
for
sure like
Western civilization.
I would love like, you know, in 50 years or whatever to go and buy like a fucking school textbook to see what they have to go and say about like the Trump presidency because I
Me
imagine
too.
it's gonna be such full of shit. Like, you know, just all the events since I was like a kid and like now like the coronavirus I'm sure is gonna be a chapter like at least a fucking page. You know, there's gonna be, you know, Trump, Obama. I bet there's fucking Gamergate's probably brought up in at least some of them.
That'd be fun.
You know,
No, it was
just
actually. It was brought up in one of my textbooks.
well, I meant like for regular like school kids,
Oh yeah.
like a history book. Like just all these like weird cultural things. Like there's probably a fucking page on furries in the early internet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, God, just all the weird shit that the early like fucking 4chan. There's probably gonna be that like internet trolls because they probably won't exist that far in the future because you know everything's gonna require real ID.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna cut this. We can keep talking after, but thank you guys for tuning in. I don't think that many people tuned in this time, but oh, we had some viewership throughout it. Yeah, we had like a peak of 4 viewers. It looks like, but yeah, we had some
You know,
viewers here and there.
pretty good for you know just regular non-major stream.
Yeah. Have a good night, guys. We'll see you around. Wash your hands. All right. We did.